Chapter 531. Today, Jun Changshao had broadened his horizons and benefited from it. He didn't know that there were so many ways to make money. Not bad, not bad. The young man in white who accepted the banknotes looked at the 8 characters and said, "He is also fated with my iron bone. I can accept him as my disciple." He was fated with money. Sect Master Jun, a family head, hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "I will send someone to get the 8 characters. Can you wait for a moment?" The young man in white nodded. Therefore, the dozens of family heads present went downstairs one after another and contacted the servants outside to go home and get the 8 characters as quickly as possible. After a while, the family heads brought the 8 characters of their direct descendants. They imitated family head Ren and stuffed banknotes under the posts. Some put 10,000, some 20,000, and some directly 50,000. Iron Bone was now famous. These family heads naturally hoped that their direct descendants could join the sect and have extraordinary martial arts in the future, so it didn't matter even if they had to spend some money. Jun Changshao secretly shook his head and said, "A group of pitiful people." The young man in white took the 8 characters and flipped through them one by one. "Your direct descendants are fated with my iron bone. I will reluctantly accept them all." Everyone was overjoyed. Sect Master Jun, at this moment, Jun Changshao suddenly said, "Didn't you just say that you can only recruit 10 disciples because you are angry with the East? Why did you recruit so many people at once?" The young man in white frowned slightly. Family head Ren said angrily, "Boy, I think you are here to make trouble." The other family heads were also angry. It was not easy to spend some money to let their direct descendants enter Iron Bone. If they made Sect Master Jun unhappy and only recruited 10 disciples, it would be terrible. "No, no." Jun Changshao said, "I heard that Sect Master Jun is a man of principle. How can you do something that goes back on your words? The system collapsed. How can you praise yourself like that? I have learned something new." Family head Ren was even angrier. Just as he was about to speak, the young man in white stopped him and smiled. "Little friend, I am afraid you have misunderstood." "Misunderstanding?" Jun Changshao asked, "What do you mean?" "Kid. Let's see how you're going to brag." The young man in white said, "The direct descendants of these families are compatible with my iron bone's 5 elements, which can resolve the evil spirit taboo. As the saying goes, among the 5 elements, yin, yang, heaven and earth, he said a lot of things." From theology to philosophy, sect leader Jun was dumbfounded. What a fucking talent. "Young friend." The white-clothed youth said, "Do you still have any questions?" "Humph." Family head Ren said coldly, "Sect leader Jun has the demeanor of a great family. He won't lower himself to your level. If it were me, I would have thrown him out immediately." "Exactly." Someone glared at Jun Changshao and said, "Brat, don't cause trouble here. Get out of Hua Man building." Sigh. These people were hopeless. Sect leader Jun Changshao said, "I heard you are a sword and martial arts double king. I wonder if you can show me some of your skills." "Oh, shit. This guy is taking advantage of my face." Family head Ren shouted angrily, "Brat, who do you think you are? Why should sect leader Jun show you some of his skills?" Everyone looked at him angrily. If sect leader Jun wasn't here, they would have already thrown this troublemaker out. The white-clothed youth smiled gently and said, "Once I use my skills, it will consume a lot of spiritual energy. I need a lot of nourishing herbs to recuperate, so it is inconvenient for me to show it to others." Hee hee. Afraid of being exposed, right? Jun Changshao waved his hand and threw 1,000,000 taels of silver on the table. "If sect leader Jun can open my eyes, I will use this 1,000,000 taels to buy some nourishing herbs." "Kid. You are pretending to be me to make money. Come, come, come. I will give you 1,000,000 taels. I want to see how you will continue pretending." The white-clothed youth's eyes flashed. It was obvious that he was very tempted by the 1,000,000 taels. Those patriarchs who had wanted to kick Jun Changshao out had looks of shock on their faces. This kid could take out 1,000,000 taels so casually. His identity was probably not simple. Could he be a young master from some great family? Sect leader Jun, a family head, said, "Why don't you open everyone's eyes?" Everyone's eyes flashed with anticipation. The sect leader Jun standing in front of them was the sword and martial king. This had not appeared for thousands of years. If they were lucky enough to see it, they would definitely be able to brag about it for the rest of their lives. Since that is the case, I will fulfill this little friend's wish. The white-clothed youth waved his hand and took the silver. Damn! He really dared to take it. The system said, what he said just now was obviously a demonstration with money. You are licking your face and giving him money. Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Seriously. A little stupid. Fine, fine. I will expose this impostor later. If I don't make him spit out all the money he cheated, I will write the previous sect leader's surname backwards. The white-clothed youth stood up and said, "Everyone, in order to avoid hurting everyone, I can only release a little." Everyone was excited and couldn't help but move back. Whoosh, whoosh! Right at this moment, two vast auras surged out from the white-clothed young man's body. One was thick, and the other was sharp. Everyone was so shocked that their mouths opened. As expected of the sword and martial king, the aura that erupted was so powerful. Jun Changshao was dumbfounded. This impostor was also the sword and martial king. No, no. Jun Changshao had been releasing his spiritual sense. Although the aura in the room was strong, it did not seep outside. The martial artists on the street did not notice it at all. It seems that this kid must have used some method to create an aura similar to the sword and martial king in the room. There was also a little trick. No wonder he dared to cheat so blatantly. A moment later, the aura that filled the room weakened. The white-clothed youth said, "Little friend, are you satisfied?" Fuck. He just released his aura and earned 1,000,000 taels of silver. Money is too easy to earn. You were the one who insisted on taking it out. The system added. Jun Changshao stood up and said, "Sect leader Jun is powerful and admirable. I wonder if you can exchange pointers with me." He could easily take down this swindler, but it would only be interesting if he exposed him in front of everyone. The white-clothed youth had been restraining his emotions. When he heard that the other party wanted to exchange pointers, his face immediately darkened. "Kid!" Patriarch Ren slammed the table and said angrily, "Are you done?" The others could not hold it in anymore. They were afraid that this guy would anger sect leader Jun and leave. "Everyone." Jun Changshao said indifferently, "You are all intelligent people. Don't you think that the person standing in front of you is a swindler? Impudent." The white-clothed youth shouted in a deep voice. Whoosh whoosh. The aura of the sword and martial king that had just retreated spread out again, several times stronger than before. Everyone was shocked. They knew that sect leader Jun was angry. "Kid!" Patriarch Ren said coldly, "Angering sect leader Jun is courting death. Hurry up and apologize." Jun Changshao ignored him and continued to release his spiritual sense. He found that the aura on this floor was strong, but the people outside still did not react at all. In other words, this kid's trick had a certain limit. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "I won't pretend anymore. I am the iron-boned sect leader. I will lay my cards on the table." Chapter 532. He's the sect leader of the iron-boned sect? All the family heads in Hua Man restaurant burst into laughter. I was wondering why this kid's clothes are so similar to sect leader Jun's. It turns out that he's not wearing the same clothes. He's just pretending. Is this guy an idiot? He's pretending to be sect leader Jun in front of sect leader Jun. The corner of Patriarch Ren's mouth twitched as he said, "Everyone, in my opinion, this kid is most likely a lunatic." "I think so." To be able to take out 1,000,000 taels so casually, he must be a lunatic from a big family. Sect leader June, please calm down. There's no need to lower yourself to the lunatic's level. June Changshao clenched his fists. Motherfucker, what a bunch of idiots. Humph, the young man in white retracted his aura and waved his hand. Throw this lunatic out. I don't want to see him for even a second. Huff huff. As soon as he finished speaking, a majestic and heavy aura filled the restaurant. Bang! 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 In an instant, the vases that were placed around were shattered on the spot by the surging aura. The air waves blew everyone's hair into a mess. They couldn't even open their eyes. June Changshao, who had unleashed his aura, glanced at everyone coldly and said, I'd like to see who has the guts to do so. The system said, why don't you just capture him directly? Why do you have to act tough? Can't you just spend 1,000,000 taels to act tough? Sure, sure. The system said, you can buy it with money. June Changshao wanted to expose this liar and let these pitiful family heads know who the real Ironbone sect leader was. So, he directly unleashed the aura of the sword and martial kings. It was free. It didn't cost a single cent. Outside, everyone felt the majestic and cold aura. They all widened their eyes and said excitedly, Sect leader June must have unleashed his cultivation. Sect leader June was naturally referring to the liar. Because they would never have thought that the young man in white was an imposter. They would never have thought that there was really June Changshao inside. Some of the martial artists who were doubtful felt the aura of the sword and martial kings and were secretly shocked. I didn't expect him to really be the Ironbone sect leader. From the looks of it, he must have come from the royal city and happened to pass by this place. That was why he decided to recruit disciples at the last minute. However, she had just accepted so many students from the academy, so why would she take a fancy to a youngster from such a small place? It would cost another 10,000 taels to pay a visit. Wasn't this too greedy? Why did sect leader June hate people impersonating him? It was because he was afraid of being slandered. If he had really taken the money, then it wouldn't matter. They could say whatever they wanted. But he didn't do anything. Instead, he got a bad reputation for being greedy. How wronged would that be? And this was just a scam. What if someone were to swindle a bunch of pregnant girls into running to Ironbone and asking him to be their savior? That would be a real fucking breakdown. Therefore, those who impersonated him must be severely punished no matter what. Inside the flower house, the various family heads gradually adapted to the strong chi waves, and someone said in disdain, he dares to show off his cultivation in front of Sect Master June, this brat is tired of living. June Changshao almost vomited blood. My sword and martial king's aura burst out, but they didn't realize that they had been tricked. These people were truly hopeless. Brat! June Changshao's gaze was cold as he said, using this king's name to swindle people outside, you really have guts. The white-clothed youth who was being stared at was so scared that his scalp went numb. After all, he was a seasoned swindler. He still said with a calm expression, little friend, although your aura is not bad, it is not worth mentioning in front of me. Still pretending? June Changshao sneered, believe it or not, I can crush you to death with one finger. Shwa! At this moment, Patriarch Ren couldn't hold it in anymore. He took a large step forward and shouted angrily, shameless boasting fellow, this patriarch will meet you. Scram! June Changshao threw a punch. Bang! Patriarch Ren, who had just rushed over, was instantly sent flying, smashing through the wall and landing on the street. Everyone widened their eyes. Patriarch Ren was a peak martial master, but he was sent flying by a single punch. June Changshao's aura exploded as he walked over step by step and said, Brat, if I'm not wrong, this Patriarch Ren should be in cahoots with you. The white-clothed youth's eyes flashed strangely. June Changshao got the answer he wanted from his eyes and said, I was wondering just now, who would be so free as to carry the birthdate of a direct descendant? Shwa! He raised his hand and grabbed the other family head who was standing next to him and said, "You should be one of the accomplices." That was the second person to take out the birth date. Finding a few people to act out a double act and make others willingly give up their tickets, this deception is quite clever. Although the captured patriarch was frightened, he said, "Brat, I am from Guilin City's Sun family." Rip Jun Changshao directly took off his face. The original middle-aged man suddenly turned into a young man. Human skin mask. This guy is not Patriarch's son. Shwa. Jun Changshao waved his hand and through the young man who had revealed his true appearance, saying, "Only a fool would be fooled by you." The faces of the patriarchs of the various families became very ugly. If they were really fooled, wouldn't he be scolding them? The Red Flame Army of the Heavenly Mandate Royal City is here. The Red Flame Army of the Heavenly Mandate Royal City is here. At this moment, there was a shout from outside. From the sound of this voice, it seemed that they were deliberately leaking information. Jun Changshao's spiritual consciousness spread out and saw the people on the street move aside. A large number of soldiers in red armor rushed in and quickly surrounded Hua Manlu. Why is she here? Who? Princess Red Lotus. This woman was wearing red armor and looked valiant as she led more than a dozen soldiers into Hua Manlu. Oh my god. The one who just went in seems to be Princess Red Lotus. Why would she come to our small place? The warriors outside started to talk. In the end, some people came to the conclusion that she must have known that Jun Changshao was here, so she came to visit. No wonder he was the head of the Iron Bones sect. Even the princess of the royal city came. Kid. In Hua Manlu, a patriarch sneered and said, "You hit someone in the city. Now that Princess Red Lotus is here, just wait to be punished." Guilin City was managed by the Heavenly Mandate Royal City, so there was a rule that prohibited fighting in the city. Idiot, Jun Changshao said lightly. This was definitely not an insult, it was definitely his heartfelt words. The scam was about to be exposed, but they still did not realize that they had been fooled. These people were really stupid. At this moment, the youth in white behind him panicked. He knew better than anyone that he was an imposter and was wanted by the royal city. Once Princess Red Lotus saw him, he would be done for. Oh, no. He held his stomach and grimaced. My stomach hurts. I need to go to the outhouse. Huff, huff. Just as he was about to slip away, Jun Changshao raised his hand. His thick spiritual power seemed to turn into chains and bound the youth in white. Kid. He said coldly, if your stomach hurts, poop in your pants. Dong. 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 Princess Red Lotus led the soldiers up the stairs. When she saw what was happening, she said in surprise, Sect leader Jun, why are you here? She looked in the direction where Jun Changshao and the youth in white were standing. The patriarchs mistakenly thought that she was talking to the youth in white. If Princess Red Lotus was not present, someone would have said, you're the idiot. You're the one who was fooled. Princess. A patriarch pointed at Jun Changshao and said angrily, this person not only impersonated sect leader Jun, but also attacked and injured people in the city. Please punish him severely. Chapter 533. There were many people in this world who thought they were smart, but in fact, they were extremely stupid. The clan masters in Hua Man Tower were typical examples. Jun Changshao tore off the masks of his fellow scammers. He still firmly believed that the young man in white was sect leader Jun. Actually, he was not necessarily stupid. He was just too proud and had a high status. He could not accept the fact that he had been scammed. He was more willing to believe that everything was true. However, reality was very cruel. When a clan master pointed at Jun Changshao and complained to Princess Red Lotus, she walked over and said, Sect leader Jun, this is the scammer who pretended to be you in the royal city. I brought people here today to bring him to justice. Hua Man Tower was silent. The clan masters who had been kept in the dark, or who had wanted to be kept in the dark, were all stunned. This time, they could clearly see that Princess Red Lotus was conversing with the young man and not with Sect Master June, whom they assumed to be. Swoosh! June Changshao raised his hand and made a grabbing motion in the air, pulling the white-clothed youth over. He said coldly, "So, you're a habitual swindler." The young man's legs trembled violently. It turned out that the person standing in front of him was really June Changshao. It was ridiculous that he had pretended to be him in front of him. Sect leader June. The young man in white said in a trembling voice, I didn't mean to offend you." Rip. June Changshao waved his hand and tore off the human skin mask on his face. This person had a slightly sickly face. Although he was not ugly, compared to our wise sect leader June, the difference was like heaven and earth. Princess. June Changshao grabbed the imposter's collar and said lightly, "The clan masters in the city think that I am an imposter. Please give me proof." In fact, there was no need to prove because they were all awake. Although Princess Red Lotus had just arrived, she had a rough understanding of the situation from the clan master's words. She played along and said, "This is June Changshao, the leader of the Iron Bone clan. His other identity is the honorary teacher of the Heavenly Mandate Academy." Plop! The last line of defense collapsed, and all the patriarchs collapsed onto the ground. Treating the real as the fake and the fake as the real, he was simply too stupid. Sect Master June. One of the patriarchs said in a trembling voice, "This Zhang has eyes but was ignorant. Please don't take my previous offense to heart." The others also hurriedly apologized and thanked him. June Changshao said, "If I were a narrow-minded person, your heads would have been removed long ago." Everyone's faces paled, and a chill ran down their spines. Indeed. If he really cared about it, he would definitely be dead by now. Princess Red Lotus would definitely not offend the sect master of Iron Bone for him. Everyone hurriedly apologized again, their waists almost touching the ground. However, June Changshao said indifferently, "I just released the power of the sword and martial kings, which consumed a lot of spiritual energy. You can do as you see fit. When three people walk together, one of them is bound to be my teacher." June Changshao had learned something from this swindler, and he immediately applied what he had learned. The patriarchs were very cooperative. They all took out a stack of banknotes so that he could recover the spiritual energy he had just consumed. It was quite a lot. There was a total of 3 million taels. Fuck! This was really profitable. How good would it be if he managed the malfaction himself and went straight for the gold? Sect Master June, Princess Red Lotus said apologetically, "This person impersonated your name and swindled people in the royal city. It's my negligence." Princess Red Lotus was so respectful to him. It was fortunate that they were still alive. Sigh. June Changshao sighed and said, "I'm too popular now. As the saying goes, popular people have a lot of trouble. It's inevitable that I'll be used to swindle people." System, Princess Red Lotus said, "I will definitely punish this swindler severely." With that, she raised her hand and ordered the soldiers to take the white-robed youth from Sect Master June's hands. The swindler's face turned pale. The royal city's laws were very strict. Swindling people under Sect Master June's name would definitely be severely punished. They might even spend the rest of their lives in jail. If he had known this would happen, he would not have done it in the first place. Many people knew that they had to pay a heavy price for breaking the law, but many people did not know the law and break it. Princess. June Changshao said, "This person impersonated my name and is extremely despicable. I plan to punish him personally." This, Princess Red Lotus was silent for a moment before she said, "All right then." "No." The white-robed youth wailed, "Princess, please bring me back to the royal city. I'm willing to accept any punishment." If he was brought to the royal city, he would at least be alive. If he fell into the hands of this ferocious person who had wiped out several evil sects, he would definitely die a terrible death. Princess Red Lotus ignored him and ordered for all his accomplices to be captured. The Ren family head who was sent flying was also in disguise. He was not the real Ren family head. Where was the real one? They had ambushed him and locked him up. Princess Red Lotus would deal with this matter and the author would not explain further. This swindler gang was truly professional. They had 2 people impersonate the family heads and put on a show of paying to enter the sect. The family heads would definitely not be willing to fall behind, so they were swindled. Princess, I admit to my crimes. I accept my punishment. Please. Jun Changshao chopped the back of the white-robed youth's head with his palm, causing him to faint. He said, since you know fear, why did you impersonate my name and swindle others? Outside Gilan City. Princess Red Lotus personally sent him to the city gates. Princess. Jun Changshao said in a conflicted manner, if someone impersonates my name to swindle others, is there a way to prevent such things from happening? He had encountered one himself. If he did not encounter any other daring impersonators, wouldn't his reputation continue to be tarnished? Princess Red Lotus said, I will issue a red decree in the royal city. Anyone who impersonates Sect Master Jun will be punished with severe crimes. This was the only solution for now. Someone said that they could distribute Sect Master Jun's portrait. Actually, it was useless. If someone really wanted to impersonate him, they could just disguise themselves according to the portrait and continue swindling others. Recruiting manual typing. Daily income of 200 to 500 yuan. Mobile phone to work. Interested, there were scams like this every day. You might think you were smart enough not to be fooled, but someone might be. Cracking down on crime was urgent. At the same time, the masses also needed to be more vigilant to prevent being swindled. Jun Changshao returned to the topic at hand and said, Princess, are you really not planning to join the Iron Bone clan? Woman. I'll give you one more chance. Princess Red Lotus smiled politely and said, my father is still in seclusion. I need his permission to join your clan after he comes out of seclusion. Princess is such a filial daughter. Jun Changshao said, Jun will take his leave first. As he said this, he lifted the white-robed youth and left with Lu Wancher. Princess Red Lotus only looked away when the figures gradually disappeared on the official road. She muttered helplessly, I also want to join the Iron Bone clan, but the Heavenly Mandate Royal City also needs someone to take care of it. Chapter 534. Gilan City was in an uproar. All the warriors in the city were talking about it. It turned out that sect leader Jun, who was recruiting disciples at Hua Man Tower, was a fake. The young man who paid 10,000 taels was the real sect leader Jun. It was a bit messy and confusing. Many warriors analyzed for a long time before they could make sense of the situation. I knew it. Sect leader Jun can't even take in enough students from the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Why would he come to Gilan City to recruit disciples? Why didn't you say it at the beginning? If I said it, would you believe me? TSK, hindsight. All the clan leaders have lost a lot of face this time. While everyone was feeling sorry for the clan leaders in Gilan City, they were also mourning for the fake. Sect leader Jun was a fierce person. You pretended to be him and got caught by him. Your ending must be very tragic. Sect leader Jun. In the wilderness, the young man in white was tied up by a vine rope and hung upside down on a tree. His face was red as he said, I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Please spare my life. Jun Changshao didn't pay any attention to him and continued to check his spatial ring. There was a lot of money. More than 6 million taels. There was also a yellow powder that emitted a strong aura. It must be a small item used to impersonate the aura of the sword and martial kings. Jun Changshao saw a diary called Record of Cheating. He flipped to a random page. It recorded every time the young man in white had cheated. Counting the dates, it had been 10 years. The first time he cheated was when he was 8 years old. He cheated a little girl's first kiss with candy. In the end, he was chased by her parents for 10 miles with a stick. The second time he cheated. The third time he cheated, when he flipped to the last page, he had cheated a total of 2,019 times. Closing the scam record, Jun Changzhao's mouth twitched as he said, "Brat, if you're not scamming people, then you're on the road to scamming people." He cheated more than 2,000 times in 10 years. This was definitely a persevering swindler. Sect. Sect leader Jun, the young man in white, sobbed. "I have a mother who is 180 years old and a group of brothers and sisters waiting to be fed. Please be magnanimous and spare my life." Sect leader Lu Wancher asked, "Is what he said true?" Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "This brat is full of lies. Don't be fooled by him so easily." The young man in white howled in grief. "Sect leader Jun, I may have cheated countless times in the Jianghu, but this time I'm telling the truth. I'm not lying to you." "Really?" Jun Changshao walked over and threw a punch without saying a word. Bang! Wow! The white-clothed youth spat out a mouthful of blood. Sect Master Jun controlled his strength well. He gave him pain but didn't kill him. Sect Master Jun. I was wrong. Bang! 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 Jun Changshao started tormenting her. In a short moment, the white-clothed youth was beaten black and blue. He fainted from the unbearable pain. "That's it?" Jun Changshao shook his head and threw him onto the Hurricane Wolf King's back. "Dudu, let's continue on our way." Several hours later. When the white-clothed youth woke up, all the bones in his body felt like they were about to fall apart. "You're awake," Jun Changshao said, "then let's continue tormenting you." Bang! 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 After a while, the white-clothed youth was beaten until he fainted again. Over the course of 2 days, he was beaten up almost every once in a while. It could be said that his life was worse than death. Jun Changshao didn't take his life. He continued to torture him like this until he reached the iron bone. It would be a pity to kill someone who dared to use his name to cheat outside, so he had to torture him slowly. When sect leader Jun returned to the iron bone, the heavenly mandate imperial city issued a law that anyone who pretended to be the Iron Bone sect leader would be severely punished. It was to make an example of him. The imposters who were locked in prison were also severely punished in public. Those who were worse in nature were directly crippled of their cultivation. The sect leader and Dudu are back. Su Xiaoma's loud voice sounded in the outer yard. The disciples who were cultivating were overjoyed. They weren't thinking about the sect leader, but Lu Wancher. Because in the days when she wasn't here, eating the food cooked by second senior brother was like swallowing chaff. Li Qingyang was also very excited. Little junior sister was back, and he finally didn't have to cook anymore. Senior brothers have all lost weight. Lu Wancher looked at everyone with heartache, and her eyes were wet. Su Xiaoma, Li Fei, and the others also had tears in their eyes. They almost hugged each other and cried out loud. "What are you crying for?" Jun Changshao said, "Dudu won the championship of the culinary competition. Smile happily for me. Little junior sister is mighty. Little junior sister is mighty." Su Xiaoma and the others shouted one after another. "Paw!" The magically modified sound system was turned on and sang, "The spring breeze of reform blows the ground. Qi Delong, Qi Dongqiang, on the training field." Thousands of disciples danced happily under the leadership of the King of Poetry, Divine Tune and the sect leader. It was the original recipe, and it was the original taste. Woo-woo, in the cafeteria, when Su Xiaoma took a bite of the food cooked by Lu Wancher, his face was full of tears. Li Fei and the others were also crying their eyes out. Second senior brother. Su Xiaoma put his hand on Tianqi's shoulder and cried, Don't mind it. We definitely don't dislike the food you cook." Woo-woo, after eating the food cooked by Lu Wancher, the Iron Bone disciples were refreshed and walked out of the cafeteria in high spirits. However, they quickly surrounded the white-clothed young man. "Kid!" Su Xiaoma walked over and grinned, "You dare to pretend to be the sect leader? You have guts." Li Fei. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "Happy soccer ball." Okay. Whoosh! Li Fei retreated 100 meters away and put the happy soccer ball under his feet. Although the white-clothed young man didn't know what it was, a sense of danger surged in his heart, and he said in fear, "You. What are you doing?" Bang! Li Fei kicked the ball away, and the ball flew in an arc, hitting him squarely in the face. This kick was very precise, because after the happy soccer ball hit the white-clothed young man's face, it bounced back perfectly. Bang! Li Fei kicked again, and the happy soccer ball shot out. Bang! 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 In front of the goal, the white-clothed young man was tied to a chair. The happy soccer ball flew in an arc, hitting his face again and again, and bouncing back. The scene was too horrible to look at. If the Chinese football team had Li Fei's footwork, they wouldn't have to worry about not being able to get into the World Cup. Sect leader. Just as he sat in the main hall, Li Qingyang reported, "The renovation of the inner courtyard has been completed." "How many people can it hold?" Jun Changshao asked. Li Qingyang said, "After the renovation and expansion by the disciples, it can now hold 20,000 people." 20,000 people, huh? Jun Changshao murmured, "It's enough for now." "Oh, right." He said, "Soon, there will be a group of students joining the sect. You'll be in charge of making arrangements." "Students?" Li Qingyang was a little puzzled, but he still said, "Yes." In the afternoon, Chu Xiaonan, Hualing, and the others rushed to Iron Bone. When they just walked into the outer courtyard, before they could admire the buildings of the sect, they saw Li Fei still kicking the happy soccer ball, hitting the white-clothed young man's face again and again. Bang! Bang! One kick, two kicks, and each kick was explosive. The corners of Hualing and the others' mouths twitched violently, and a chill ran down their spines. What was going on? Was he punishing the disciples who broke the rules? Thinking of how violent Jun Changshao was in the school, they immediately realized that this sect must be filled with a group of violent maniacs. "Dad, Mom. I seem to have entered a tiger's den." Chapter 535. Due to the sect leader's instructions, Li Qingyang handled the admission procedures for 39 students. Teacher Jun Changshao punched Hualing's head and said, "From today onwards, you have to call me sect leader." "Yes." Hualing had a big bump on his head and said, "Sect leader." "Qingyang." Jun Changshao said, "These new disciples will be arranged by you." "Yes." Li Qingyang led a group of juniors to the newly renovated inner courtyard and assigned them rooms and uniforms. He reminded them, "Gather at the training field tomorrow morning." "Thank you, senior brother." Hualing grinned. After Li Qingyang left, these students from the academy began to discuss in shock. "The Iron Bone disciples we met on the way all had strong auras. They must be stronger than senior sister Lu. Especially in the outer courtyard. That young man who was punishing disciples must be a high-ranked Wuzong." These young masters with extraordinary talents thought that they could compete with the most ordinary disciples after coming to Iron Bone. In the end, they realized that they were nothing at all. "Tsk," Chu Xiaonan said disdainfully, "I don't believe that there are no mediocre people in Iron Bone." As he spoke, he strode toward the outer courtyard. "Young Master Chu, where are you going?" "To find a fellow disciple to spar with." Everyone's mouth twitched. "Young Master Chu." At this moment, Hualing said in shock, "Be careful." Chu Xiaonan was stunned. Bang! The happy football was shot from the outer courtyard and hit his face hard. His whole body immediately sank into the wall. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Damn it, in the corner of the outer courtyard, Chu Xiaonan covered his red and swollen face and said angrily, "How dare you sneak attack me? That's despicable." "Young Master Chu," Hualing said in a low voice, "these Iron Bone disciples are too strong. You mustn't spar with them." "Nonsense. Of course, I'm not that stupid. If I want to challenge, I should challenge the weakest in the sect, Right at this time, Chu Xiaonan saw a disciple standing at the entrance and said proudly, "This brat should be a gatekeeping disciple. I can use him to test my skills first." As he spoke, he got up and walked over. The sect created by the 7 profound sacred venerate is indeed extraordinary. I should be able to become a peak martial master in a few days, he thought to himself. This martial cultivator from the upper realm was really talented. Even after falling to level 0 so many times, he could still reach such a level. Even Yi Xingchen at his peak was not worth mentioning in front of him. As someone who had been through this before, he knew that advancing too quickly would arouse suspicion and ultimately bring him trouble. Therefore, he had always relied on the hidden cultivation technique to suppress his realm. On the surface, his cultivation was that of a 6th-grade martial master. He didn't hide everything, but he couldn't be too low profile. Otherwise, the sect leader would think that he was a noob. He had the urge to cry at the mention of the hidden cultivation technique that suppressed one's cultivation. Of all the martial arts he had learned in the higher planes, none of them could be used on the falling star continent. This was the only martial art he could use, and it was used to hide his cultivation base. Sigh. He couldn't help but sigh. Hey! Suddenly, he heard a voice. "Gatekeeper, how about we exchange pointers?" Gatekeeper? He was startled, and his face immediately darkened. "Little junior brother." He turned his head and said, "Remember, I'm the last disciple, not the gatekeeper." Last disciple? No wonder he closed the door when we came in. Ha ha ha. Chu Xiaonan couldn't help but cover the pillar and laugh loudly. So this is the last disciple. He's laughing at me. A new junior brother is laughing at me. This is intolerable. He rushed forward and grabbed Chu Xiaonan's collar with his big hand. He threw him over his shoulder and sat on him, waving his fists and beating him violently. Boom! Boom! Every punch hit the flesh, and every move was fierce. Hua Ling and the others, who were standing in the distance, were so shocked that their jaws dropped. It turned out that even a disciple in charge of the last disciple in Iron Bone was so powerful. Jun Changshao, who walked out of the main hall, looked at He and murmured, "This guy's aura seems a bit strong." There were now many disciples in the sect, and he couldn't pay attention to them all the time, so he didn't know much about the martial arts of many disciples. Sect Master. Li Qingyang said, "Junior brother, he is now a 6th-grade martial master." Jun Changshao said in surprise, "He improved so fast." Although the martial arts resources and equipment of his sect were powerful, it was inconceivable that someone who had lost his memory several times could break through to such a level. The system said, maybe this disciple of the host is like Yi Xingchen, and cultivated some kind of martial arts above the divine grade. It's possible. Jun Changshao put on his dazzling sunglasses and locked onto He activating the analysis function. Cultivation, 9th grade martial master aptitude, super divine grade spiritual root strength, 130,000 gene. Looking at the aptitude display, Sect Master Jun said in surprise, "There's a spiritual root higher than the divine grade?" The system said, "The highest level of spiritual root in the falling star continent is the divine grade." Then what does super divine grade mean? Maybe, he's like the host, not from this world. Jun Changshao said in surprise, "He's also a transmigrator." The system said, "This kind of super divine grade aptitude can only be found in higher planes. He might be from the upper world." Jun Changshao was silent. After coming to the falling star continent for so long, he already understood that this was just one of many planes. In the vast universe, there were many higher planes, which were often called the upper world. Thanks to the main mission given by the system, he became the strongest sect in the falling star continent. If he became the strongest sect in the entire universe, he would have given up and waited for his death to come. That's not right. Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "His aura is that of a 6th-grade martial master, but why is he a 9th-grade martial master? He should be using some kind of mental cultivation method to hide his cultivation," the system said. Jun Changshao said, If it's a mental cultivation method that can hide from my spiritual sense, it's very mysterious. Although the sect's reputation has spread, it will still arouse the suspicion of others. If I can let myself and my disciples learn this mental cultivation method, it won't be too shocking. Rising in such a short time would definitely be questioned by the major forces. They didn't encounter any trouble now because they didn't catch anyone's attention. As their reputation grew in the future, they would definitely become the focus of attention. It was understandable that the disciples of the sect suppressed their cultivation to an acceptable level. It was definitely beneficial and harmless. In front of the gate, Chu Shonan, who found the weakest person to spar with, was beaten black and blue. He was beaten to the point that he had nothing left to live for. Serves him right. Of all the people to find, he had to find Hiwudi. Although his cultivation wasn't the highest in the sect, his aptitude was definitely the best. Even if his cultivation was one realm lower, he would still be able to beat this arrogant young master until he couldn't tell north from south. Invincible. Sect Master Jun, who was standing in front of the main hall, waved at him with a smile and said, "Come here for a moment." Hiwudi felt a sense of foreboding rising in his heart when he saw this strange smile. Chapter 536. Sect Master. Hiwudi walked into the main hall and said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Because he had always suspected that the Iron Bones sect was created by the 7 profound sage, he also respected this sect master. Wudi. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "Have you been happy cultivating in the sect recently?" The more he was like this, the more scared Hiwudi felt. Reporting to sect master. This disciple is very happy and satisfied. As long as you are happy and satisfied. The smile on Jun Changshao's face became even wider. Hiwudi collapsed. Sect Master, if you have something to say, just say it. Such a sinister smile is really a bit scary. Jun Changshao said, "Wudi, when I first saw you, I knew you were a moldable talent, so I accepted you as my last disciple." Hiwudi almost vomited blood. Only your last disciple is the real last disciple. Sect Master. Hiwudi said with a bitter face, "If you have something to say, just say it. If you keep doing this, this disciple's heart won't be able to take it." Straightforward. Jun Changshao stood up and walked down, saying, "Wudi, do you think my Iron Bones sect should exist in a mortal world?" "It shouldn't." Hiwudi said. There were so many martial arts resources and cultivation facilities, even the sects in the upper realm might not have them. However, Jun Changshao said quickly, "It exists, why? How would I know?" Hiwudi said, "This disciple is slow-witted, please enlighten me, sect master." Jun Changshao patted his shoulder and said with a deep tone, "You are a smart person, you should be able to guess." Hiwudi was startled. Could it be that sect master is hinting to me that the sect was created by the 7 profound sage, so the Iron Bones sect that shouldn't exist in the mortal world really exists? It must be so. Hiwudi forced his mind to fill in the gaps and said, "This disciple understands." "Do you really understand?" "I really understand." "Alright." Jun Changshao said, "A sect that shouldn't exist exists in the mortal world. Does this count as destroying the balance of the world?" This, Hiwudi considered for a moment and said, "Forget it." If he hadn't fallen to level 0, he definitely wouldn't have come to a low-level plane. That was because every move he made would cause the world to lose balance, and even lead him to destruction. The Iron Bone Righteous sect was created by the 7 profound Saint Venerable. It was definitely a super force in the upper realm. Now that it was in the mortal realm, it was definitely going against the natural order. Wait a minute. The sect leader has told me so much. Could it be that he is preparing to bring the sect to the upper realm, to the plane that should belong to it? This was good too. I'll follow this kind of power and develop. Once I return to my peak, I'll find my enemy for revenge. Then, I'll find the person who stole my secret manual. In order not to destroy the balance of heaven and earth, I think that the disciples should keep a low profile, Jun Changshao said. Sect Master is right. He Woody was now very low-key, otherwise, he would not deliberately suppress his cultivation. However, Jun Changshao sighed and said, "You guys are like fireflies in the dark night. No matter how low-key you are, you can't hide your brilliance." He Woody said, "Sect Master's words are very true. Invincible." Jun Changshao patted his shoulder again and said, "Take out the martial arts technique that you used to hide your cultivation and share it with us. Let the disciples of the sect be truly low-key." "Okay, wait." He Woody suddenly realized something and said in shock, "Sect Master, I don't understand what you mean. Don't pretend to be confused." Jun Changshao said, "Do you think that I can't see through your cultivation just because you hide it?" He Woody's mouth twitched. He said so much, was it to deliberately probe for his martial technique? That's right. He was trying to get your martial arts technique. Perhaps the strength of crossing the void was too strong. He Woody not only lost his cultivation, but also his intelligence. He was fooled by Sect Master Jun with just a few words. What to do? He could only recite the hidden cultivation technique verbally. It wasn't an important martial arts technique to increase his cultivation. Yes. Even if it was an important martial arts technique, it wouldn't matter if he handed it over. After all, in this low-level plane, he couldn't cultivate at all. Jun Changshao memorized it and murmured, "This kind of mental cultivation technique is very different from the falling star continent in circulating the meridians." Comprehension. Half an hour later, Sect Master Jun had succeeded in cultivating it. For the first time, his cultivation immediately dropped from the Martial King level to the Wuzong level. The hidden cultivation technique was only used to hide one's cultivation. It could be considered an auxiliary martial arts technique, so it wasn't difficult to cultivate at all. We can print it into a book and let each disciple have a copy. Jun Changshao did as he said. He found many disciples and asked them to produce it overnight. The next day, one by one, the hidden cultivation technique secret manuals were distributed to the disciples for them to cultivate. When they succeeded in cultivating it, they could suppress their cultivation at will. Even a martial king would find it difficult to see their true cultivation. Just like that. No one would have thought that a martial arts technique from the upper realm could be cultivated by everyone in a sect in the mortal realm. As for He Woody, he was still thinking about the conversation with the sect master in the main hall. He thought to himself, he can see my true cultivation. He is indeed not simple. 7 Profound Sage. Could it be that he is someone you personally appointed? The more He Woody forced himself to imagine, the more respect he had for Jun Changshao. Chu Shonan, who had been taught a lesson, became completely obedient. He couldn't even defeat a closed-door disciple. What right did he have to be arrogant? However, the tragedy had just begun. Everyone knew that the beginning of life in the Iron Bones sect was cruel and torturous, especially the happy football. However, there was also something that shocked them. After taking the body sculpting pill, the strength of his physical body had increased. Junior brother. One day, after doing morning exercises, Su Xiaoma brought Chu Shonan and the others to the training room. He grinned and said, "Today, I will let you experience what true happiness is." Bang! Bang! Painful screams could be heard from the dozens of molding rooms. 2 hours later, Chu Shonan, Hualing, and the others were lying on the stairs like mud. Their faces were expressionless, as if they had nothing to live for. "Father, Mother. I really want to go home." After joining the Iron Bones sect, they definitely had to go through some torture before they could adapt. This group of Gathering Heroes Hall students was no exception. On the second day, they were full of energy. Then, after being fed by Lu Wancher's delicious food, they immediately forgot all the previous tragedies and completely fell in love with the feeling of being a masochist. Sect Master Li Luocho stood outside the main hall and looked at the group of new disciples going in and out of the training room. She smiled and said, "They are quite happy." Yes. Jun Changshao leaned against the door frame and folded his arms with a smile. Creating a happy sect is this king's lifelong wish. Li Luoqiu turned her head and smiled. Sect master relies on this position. The eldest disciple also often relies on it. Ah! Jun Changshao was stunned. He subconsciously looked up at the sky and whispered, "She has been gone for a while. I don't know if she has reached Luzhou in the northeast." "It is a long journey from Yangzhou in the southwest to Luzhou in the northeast," Li Luoqiu said. "Sect master." At this moment Li Qingyang hurried over and said, "There are many students outside who claim to be from the Heavenly Mandate Academy. They want to see the sect master and say that they want to join the sect. Is that so?" Jun Changshao waved his sleeve and smiled. "Let's go out and have a look." Chapter 537. Hundreds of teenagers stood in front of the mountain gate. They were the students of the Heavenly Mandate Academy who had graduated early and rushed to Qingyang County. They only wanted to join the Iron Bone and learn martial arts from sect leader Jun students. Sect leader Jun stood in front of the gate and said loudly, "Once you join the Iron Bone, you will be an Iron Bone disciple for the rest of your life. You have to think carefully." The readers thought that they were begging him to recruit disciples. Now that someone had taken the initiative to join, he put on airs. This guy was really despicable. "Teacher Jun," a student said, "we have already thought it through. We are willing to be Iron Bone disciples for the rest of our lives." "In that case, you will enter the sect according to the order," Jun Changshao said. He left the entry procedures to Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others, and returned to the study. There was still a long way to go before he could recruit disciples. He definitely couldn't do it himself. Name: Huang Qingquan. Name: Li Hai. Ding! Ding! When sect leader Jun just sat in the study, the number of disciples entering the sect and the contribution points increased. The notifications kept ringing. It was wonderful and comfortable. Little dragon. Looking at the fire dragon sleeping in its nest, Jun Changshao clasped his fingers together and murmured, "When will you wake up?" The little guy had fallen into hibernation since before the attack of 300,000 troops in Xinjiang County. It hadn't woken up yet. The last time it woke up, it could defeat the two-skinned king of martial arts. This time, can it defeat Wu Huang? Jun Changshao was looking forward to it. Ding! Sect members, 530110000. Ding! Sect contribution points, 100,011,0000. Ding! Overflow of contribution points. Host, please. It's full so soon. Jun Changshao moved his mind and opened the system store. He didn't browse the items. Instead, he chose the muscle building room and spent 2,000 contribution points to buy 100 sets of muscle building rooms. With more and more disciples, he definitely needed to buy more basic equipment. The training room needs to be expanded. Jun Changshao murmured, otherwise, it would be very difficult to set up so many molding rooms. Dusk came. There were more than 600 students who came to join the school. After recruiting all of them, the number of Iron Bone students increased from 5,042 to 5,662. This was only the beginning. In the next few days, more and more students came to apply for admission. Students who could enter the Heavenly Mandate Academy were definitely outstanding in terms of aptitude. Therefore, sect leader Jun didn't reject any of them and accepted all of them. Someone came to spy on the secrets of the sect? Sure, I'll generously welcome him in. If he can bring away any useful information, I'll write my previous sect master's surname backwards. 5 days later. The students who had graduated early all rushed over. The number of Iron Bone members rose from 5,000 to 9,002. Sect leader. The corner of Jiang Ye's mouth twitched as he said, "Your trip to the Imperial City has almost emptied out the students of the Heavenly Mandate Academy, right?" Strictly speaking, he had really emptied his pockets. Some of the students who didn't come, mainly those who had just entered the school, would definitely join Iron Bone after they cultivated for a year or two. After the battle at the Holy Springs Sect, Iron Bone had gained enough prestige in Qingyang County to recruit almost all of the talented youths. Now, in the entire southwest Yangzhou, almost all of the talented and qualified students had been recruited by him. It was no wonder. When the offices of the various sects learned of this matter, they would sigh. The rise of Iron Bone would be unstoppable. The geniuses of the entire prefecture were gathered. The sect leader himself also had extremely high attainments in martial arts. When these disciples grew up, they would definitely be terrifying. But southwest Yangzhou? No. Jun Changshao still wanted to expand outward. His ultimate goal was to gather all the talents in the world into Iron Bone and establish the strongest sect that the world would worship. Nearly 4,000 students joined the school and received 4,000 contribution points. Sect leader Jun didn't go to the mall to refresh or buy items in the mall. Instead, he focused all of his efforts on the infrastructure. In a few days, he bought 200 molding rooms alone. Including the previous ones, they were all placed in a large house. The scene was quite spectacular. The new disciples, no matter what kind of cultivation they experienced in the academy, no matter how good their foundation was, all of them had to go through molding. As a result, in these few days, we will often see many people lying on the ground with nothing to live for. There were many disciples. The consumption was also high. Jun Changshao came to the medicinal hall and had a cordial conversation with the members, making them more focused on planting medicinal herbs. At the same time, he also established a procurement hall. Li Luoqiu temporarily served as the hall master and was responsible for purchasing all kinds of medicinal herbs, seeds, and other items in the city. Sect leader Elder Wei said, "The medicinal hall is short of manpower. Tomorrow morning, you will personally choose," Jun Changshao said. All right. The next day, Elder Wei chose 100 more stable disciples from the new disciples to expand the medicinal hall. Shuiren Gui said, "Sect leader, my Wolf Rider hall also needs to expand." Although the wolf cubs hadn't grown up yet, they could train the disciples in advance. After they were equipped with mounts, they could directly go to the battlefield. Choose as you wish. Thus, Shuiren Gui chose 1,000 disciples, and the number of people in the Wolf Rider Hall broke through to 2,000. Li Luoqiu naturally wouldn't miss out and chose dozens of smart disciples. We still need 1,000 disciples to be promoted from a sect to a sect. When the disciples were close to 5,000, sect leader Jun wasn't too anxious. But now that they were about to reach 10,000, he was definitely a little anxious. Sect leader Li Qingyang came to see him and said, "There is a young man called Jing Wugo outside. He said that he wants to challenge the disciples of Iron Bone." Jun Changshao was stunned, and then the corner of his mouth twitched. This guy really dares to come. Iron Bone, martial arts practice field. Jing Wugo stood proudly in his white robe. Although he was sent flying by Jun Changshao's Iron Fist of Love in the academy, he had already made up his mind to challenge Iron Bone. He wasn't here to show off. He just wanted to see how strong the other disciples were if a little girl was already so strong. The new disciples gathered together and whispered to each other. They never expected that the senior who ranked 10th on the hero ranking would actually come to challenge the sect. Awesome. Gutsy. Jing Wugo cupped his hands and said, "Teacher Jun, since your sect can be ranked as one of the top 3, your disciples must be extraordinary. I am here today to learn from them. This guy wants to challenge us." Su Xiaomua and Li Fei immediately grinned. This person's aura was at most a first stage or second stage Wuzong. His courage to come and challenge them was commendable. No problem. Jun Changshao said, "Those standing below are the inner disciples of Iron Bone. You can choose any one of them." Looking at the 20 disciples, Jing Wugo said, "It is impossible for a student to fight with a girl, so," he paused and pointed at one of them. "Just fight with him." Su Xiaomua and Li Fei's mouth twitched. This was because the opponent he chose to spar with was Yixingchen. Little brother. I hope you can leave Iron Bone with your dignity intact. Chapter 538. 20 Inner Sect Disciples. Lu Qianqian is offline. Jing Wugo had chosen no one but Yixingchen. This made our Knight Emperor very angry. Did he think that he was the weakest among them? No. On the contrary. Jing Wugo's intuition as a genius told him that Yixingchen's strength was the highest among them. Since he had come to the Iron Bone School. If he wanted to challenge someone, he had to challenge the strongest. What a man! How ambitious and courageous! Are you sure? Yixingchen asked in a low voice. Jing Wugo said, I'm sure. Good. Yixingchen walked out. Junior. Su Xiaoma whispered, take it easy. Don't cripple him. Yeah. Li Fei said, he's a student of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. We have to give him some face. Yixingchen stood in the middle of the martial arts arena and looked at Jing Wugo with contempt. A guy who had just entered Wuzong. How dare he challenge me? Doesn't he know how to write the word abuse? Fine, I'll teach him how to write it stroke by stroke. You may begin, Yixingchen said lightly. His voice was cold, like an emotionless killer. Please. Jing Wugo said with his hands folded. The next second, his pupils suddenly contracted because Yixingchen's big hand had already pressed down. The speed was so fast that he didn't even have a chance to dodge. Boom! There was a roar in the martial arts arena. The ground seemed to shake, and gusts of wind rolled up. Chu Xiaonan, Huo Ling, and the others widened their eyes. In his field of vision, Jing Wugo was lying on the ground. Yixingchen had one hand on Jing Wugo's neck and said coldly, Brat, who gave you the courage to challenge me with this little strength? So strong. With just one move, he had pressed the senior who ranked 10th on the heroes list to the ground. Jing Wugo's face was ferocious, and his heart was in turmoil. At that moment, Yixingchen was like a giant in front of him, and he was like a weak ant. Shua! Yixingchen abruptly raised his hand. Like a child, he swung Jing Wugo up and then fiercely threw him to the ground. Boom! 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 The floor shook again and again, and the sound caused the hearts of the new disciples to beat wildly. This senior brother was a little ruthless. Chu Xiaonan, in particular, rejoiced incomparably. It was fortunate that he had found his last disciple. If he had found Chu Xiaonan, he would definitely have been abused even more miserably. Knight Emperor was a man of few words. After a round of abuse, Jing Wugo was lying on the training ground, foaming at the mouth. His entire body was twitching violently, and even his handsome face was swollen like a pig's head. Su Xiaoma shook his head. Little brother, if you had chosen me, although you would not have been able to avoid the fate of being defeated, you would not have been so miserably abused. Yet, you chose junior brother Yi. Me. 3 seconds of silence for you. Sect leader. Yixingchen turned around and said rather irritably, if such trash comes to challenge you in the future, please allow this disciple to continue cultivating so as not to waste time. The corner of Huo Lingren's mouth twitched. Jing Wugo, who was ranked 10th, did not even have the ability to fight back and was already being abused like this. If the senior who was ranked first on the hero ranking came, he would definitely be defeated. It was said that there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the royal city. Now it seemed that our Iron Bone was also a place of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Father, mother. I came to the right place. The abused Jing Wugo lay on the training ground for a long time. Su Xiaoma and the others also dispersed and cultivated on their own. He was the only one left, and he looked so lonely and miserable. This is my Iron Bone disciple. Jun Changshao appeared in front of him, blocking all the sunlight. He lowered his head and said, have you seen it? I have seen it. Jing Wugo said with difficulty, very, very strong. Although he was defeated and miserably abused, he was not discouraged. Instead, excitement appeared on his face. Could it be that he was a masochist? No. Jing Wugo was a real martial cultivator. Although he was defeated, he also witnessed true strength. His desire to become stronger would only be more determined. Some people would be unable to recover from setbacks, and some people would become more courageous after setbacks. Jing Wugo belonged to the latter, so he was a masochist. Jun Changshao said, "I allow you to recuperate in the sect. When your injuries are healed, you can continue to challenge." Many thanks." Jing Wugo squeezed out a smile. Challenging only one person was not the purpose of this trip. He hoped to fight with different opponents. Even if he was still completely abused, he had to stand upright. Martial cultivator. Never give up, never give up. Although Yi Xingchen was ruthless, he did not hurt the vital parts. 2 days later, Jing Wugo recovered. "Please advise me." On the training ground, he cupped his hands and said, "TSK, TSK." Su Xiaomo sat on the railing and said, "Continuing to challenge after your injuries are healed? Is this guy crazy? Please." Tian Qi cupped his hands and said. The result of the battle did not need to be described because Jing Wugo was still not a match for him. Fortunately, he was not beaten up, at least he could be considered decent. However, he challenged Long Xiang again. Bang! When the battle began, he was directly sent flying before he could even take a punch. He fell flat on his back. "Sorry." Long Xiang retracted his fist and said, "I used a bit too much strength." Bang! Put on. Bang! Put on. Jing Wugo continued to challenge. In the end, he lost 19 times after 19 rounds. All of them were clean defeats. It could be said to be extremely tragic. Chu Xiaonan, Hua Ling, and the others finally realized that inner disciples were so awesome. "Do you still want to fight?" Jun Changshao asked. Jing Wugo struggled to stand up and said with his head held high, "Fight. Li Tian. Here. Fight with him." Yes. If the inner sect was not enough, the outer sect would make up for it. Li Tian had also just entered Wuzong. His spiritual root was not as good as Jing Wugo's, but he could still beat Jing Wugo until he could not fight back. Sima Zhongde, Cui Bujian, and other outer sect disciples also accepted the challenge. Jing Wugo fell down again and again. He was beaten very badly. The most tragic thing was that even if there was a gap in the realm of a peak martial arts master, he was still defeated in the end. Put on. Dragging his battered body, Jing Wugo sat weakly on the stairs outside the gate. His eyes, which had been full of fighting spirit, had become dim. There was a limit to how strong a person's heart could be. Jing Wugo clenched his fist and said painfully, "Am I really that weak?" "It's not that you are weak." Jun Changshao walked over and sat in front of him. He took a puff of his cigar and blew out smoke rings. "It's that they are too strong. Even if the Iron Bone disciples had the most mediocre aptitude, with the help of various resources and equipment, they would almost become Vajragord brothers. How could the geniuses of the Heavenly Mandate Academy win?" "Yes." Jing Wugo lowered his head and said, "Master Jun's disciples are too strong. They are so strong that I don't have the courage to continue training." Jun Changshao patted him on the shoulder and said, "You are weaker than them because you lack the guidance of a master. Otherwise, with your unyielding perseverance, you would be far stronger than many people." Jing Wugo suddenly understood and said, "Master Jun, are you telling me not to give up and not to give up?" Chapter 539. Don't give up, don't give up. What I mean is, join Iron Bone, and I will guide you well. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, not giving up, although it is worth encouraging, you also have to judge the situation. For example, if there is a path to become stronger in front of you, will you choose to take it? Brat. I'm so direct, you should understand, right? No. Jing Wugo raised his head, his gaze firm. I will work hard to walk my own path. Bang! Jun Changshao kicked him down, pointed at the mountain path, and said impatiently, Scram, hurry up and scram, I don't want to see you for even a moment. Damn it. He was on a completely different channel from this guy, he couldn't chat at all. Sect leader Jun. Jing Wugo stood up from the ground and said, I want to join Iron Bone, please accept me. Jun Changshao, who was about to enter the sect, had his back to him, and said indifferently, don't you want to walk your own path? Yes. Jing Wugo said seriously, I want to walk my own path, but I believe that by joining Iron Bone and being taught by sect leader Jun, I can find a path that belongs to me from the tens of thousands of paths. This guy wasn't stupid. Qingyang. Jun Changshao walked into the sect and said, bring the entry form. Jing Wugo, ranked 10th on the hero list, joined Iron Bone and became the 9003rd disciple. This person's aptitude and perseverance were not bad, and after being carefully groomed by the sect, he would definitely display an extremely strong strength. However, this was also the beginning of the tragedy for Li Qingyang and the others. Because in the future, they would face endless challenges from this junior brother. Even if he was beaten half to death every time, he would still continue to fight after cultivating for a while. He didn't know exhaustion at all, he was completely dog skin plaster. Early morning. Jun Changshao stood in front of the main hall with his hands behind his back. Nearly 10,000 disciples stood in an orderly manner, exuding an unyielding aura. Originally, he was the only one in the sect, but in less than 2 years, it had developed to such an extent, and there were all kinds of talented geniuses, making him full of pride. Just you wait. On this falling star continent, Jun Changshao, and my Iron Bone clan will be worshipped by countless experts. Attention! He shouted, dance! The magically modified sound system was turned on, and a moving divine song began to play. After the shameless dance, the disciples dispersed and began to cultivate. Jing Wugo, who had just joined, started to experience the molding room. After experiencing the benefits, he unleashed his masochistic nature to the extreme. AI. After finishing the spirit gathering array, Jun Changshao returned to his study. He shook his head and said, why didn't the other 9 geniuses come to challenge me? Jing Wugo was already very good, and the others were definitely outstanding as well. The system said, you've taken in so many talented disciples from the academy. The host should be content with what he has. That's true. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, we still lack 997 disciples. Why don't we go to Qingyang City and pick some captives to make up the numbers? Aha! At this moment, the fire dragon, who was curled up in its nest, yawned and then slowly opened its eyes, revealing its scarlet pupils. The little guy is awake. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. Among the few contract beasts, he was most optimistic about the fire dragon. Now that it had woken up, there must be some huge changes. Swish! The little dragon opened its eyes, and its skin became even redder, as if it would burn at any moment. With the experience from last time, sect leader Jun picked it up and ran to the small martial arts practice field outside. As soon as he put it down, scorching flames immediately erupted, spreading at least 50 to 60 feet high. It happened to be night, and the scorching flames could be seen clearly at the foot of the mountain. Not good, it's on fire. It's on fire. The disciple who went out to relieve himself saw the flames in a daze and immediately shouted at the top of his lungs. The other disciples who were sleeping soundly were awakened. They rushed out of their rooms in white pants and saw the flames in front of them. Without saying a word, they picked up a wooden bucket to fetch water. However, when they arrived at the scene, they found that the flames were spreading on the martial arts practice field and did not affect the buildings. They were all stunned. What was going on? How could there be flames erupting all of a sudden? Could it be that they were having a bonfire party? Those who were in a daze were all new disciples. Su Xiaoma and the others had already pulled up the rope and placed the clothes and bedding they washed yesterday on it. The effect was very good. In a short while, it was dry. The last time it woke up, the flames around the fire dragon's body only rose 2 to 3 meters. Now that it woke up again, the flames it released were more than 10 meters high. This meant that the second evolution was definitely extraordinary. Sect leader Jun's eyes burned. In his imagination, the little dragon's body should be bigger, about the same size as the fire dragon. If it was placed in the sect as a guardian beast, it would definitely be mighty and extraordinary. Huff huff, the scorching flames continued to erupt until dawn came. Unfortunately, from the appearance of its body, there wasn't much change. It was just a little smaller than before, like a little pony. Jun Changshao couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. However, thinking that the little guy had evolved, its strength must have increased greatly. This, Chu Xiaonan, Huo Ling, and the others opened their mouths. After the flames were restrained, a ferocious beast that looked like a lizard suddenly appeared. This was completely unexpected. Senior brother. Huo Ling said, "What is this?" In terms of shape, the fire dragon had the characteristics of a snake and 4 limbs like a horse. Therefore, it was difficult for him to determine what kind of beast it was. Su Xiaoma thought for a moment and said, "It is the sect leader's contract beast. You can think of it as a snake-horse beast." Snake-horse beast? Everyone was at a loss. Wait. This little guy is the sect leader's contract beast? That's impossible. The sect leader was a rare sword and martial king. How could he have such a bad contract beast? In the eyes of the new disciples, if Jun Changshao had a contract beast, it should be a tall and mighty lion or tiger beast. Only then would he be worthy of the identity of the sect leader and martial master. Roar! At this moment, the little dragon raised its head and roared. A gurgling energy visible to the naked eye, like ripples on the water surface, quickly spread to the surroundings. The powerful aura contained in his voice caused everyone's expression to change greatly. This cult-like beast must be very strong. Master! Suddenly, a childish voice came from the fire dragon's mouth. I have evolved for the second time. That little guy actually spoke. Huo Ling, who had some understanding of beasts, exclaimed in disbelief, "Spirit beast. This is a spirit beast." The spirit of a spirit beast represented intelligence. Beasts that reached this level not only had intelligence, but they could also speak human language. This also meant that the fire dragon that had evolved for the second time after awakening was a real spirit beast. Its strength was comparable to a martial king. Chu Xiaonan and the others were completely dumbfounded. The beast that they had underestimated just now turned out to be a spirit beast. This slap in the face hurt a little. I'll update 8 times in a row and continue at night. Please recommend tickets, monthly tickets, rewards, all kinds of requests. Chapter 540. The fire dragon's second slumber wasn't long, but after evolving, it had gained intelligence and the ability to speak, which was a bit unbelievable. Jun Changshao thought that it was normal. After all, this little guy had spent countless crystal cores to cultivate it. If there was nothing different about it, he might as well find a piece of tofu and smash himself to death. It's just an evolution. Is there a second battle form? Jun Changshao asked. Yes. Little Dragon said. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. Hurry up and show it to me. Master. Fire Dragon said, once I use my battle form, I will fall into a very long period of weakness. The little guy's voice was still childish. If one didn't look at its appearance, it would give people the feeling that it was a 5 or 6-year-old child. It's fine, it's fine. Jun Changshao said, let me and my disciples broaden their horizons. Alright. Little Dragon looked at the surrounding disciples and said proudly, all of you, step back a little to avoid being scalded. Shwa! Shwa! Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma and the others quickly retreated. They had seen Little Dragon activate its battle form for the first time, so they were more aware. Chu Xiaonan and the other new disciples didn't know about it. Although they also retreated, they only retreated a few steps and thought to themselves, is it very dangerous? Huff huff, suddenly, Little Dragon, who was standing in the middle of the training field, erupted into flames again, instantly rising to a height of 7 to 8 feet. The heat emitted from his body was obviously much stronger than before. Hiss! Chu Xiaonan and the others sucked in a breath of hot air, and then hurriedly retreated far away, afraid that they would be burned by the scorching temperature. Oh my God! The temperature of this flame was too terrifying. All the disciples retreated far away. Jun Changshao stood in place with his hands behind his back. Not only was he a fire attribute martial cultivator, he was also the master of the contract beast. No matter how hot it was, he was still unaffected. This little guy's fire attribute is very strong. Very strong. It was so strong that it could be compared to Sect leader Jun. Moreover, it was still increasing. In just a moment, the stone slabs in the hottest area were roasted red, as if they were about to melt at any time. If it were to rise any further, the nearby buildings might not be able to withstand the high temperature and burn. Retreat! The Iron Bone disciple retreated again in shock. Jun Changshao spread out his spiritual energy and enveloped the training field with an invisible barrier to prevent a fire from breaking out. Once the flames were isolated, the heat immediately weakened. Only then did the disciples who were constantly retreating stop. Their hearts and eyes were filled with shock. Even if it's a spirit beast, it shouldn't be this strong. After a while, the rising flames began to shrink. Master! The little dragonite's childish voice came from the flames, this is my second battle form. Shua, a young man's head poked out from the flames. He looked to be about 13 or 14 years old and had delicate features. Jun Changshao laughed. The little fellow's first form was only a human body, but its head still retained the characteristics of a ferocious beast. Now that he had activated the second form and his head had turned into a human, it was enough to prove that he had truly achieved complete humanization. Tap! At that moment, Little Dragon took a step forward, and his entire body appeared from the flames. Sect leader Jun's expression stiffened. The Iron Bone disciples standing in the distance also widened their eyes. What did he see? How could he have such an expression in such a short time? They saw Little Dragon take a step forward handsomely, and there were clusters of flames enveloping his body. It could be said that he was quite cool. But why did his body appear in front of them look like a ferocious beast? His chest was covered with hair, and he looked like a chimpanzee. His 2 arms were very thick, but his 5 fingers had slender fingernails. These were definitely not human hands, but claws. His 2 legs were the ones that collapsed the most. Not only were they S-shaped, but there was also leopard-patterned hair on them. These weren't human legs, but leopard legs. There was a cluster of flames burning between his legs, which successfully avoided some embarrassment. There was a tail behind his buttocks, which drooped on the ground. There was also a cluster of flames burning at the end of the tail. This is your second form? Jun Changshao opened his mouth and said. That's right. Little Dragon, who had a young man's head, said proudly, this is my second form, humanoid dragon transformation. The corners of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched violently. The first form was humanoid dragon transformation. In the end, the body turned into a human, but the head didn't. The second form was humanoid dragon transformation. In the end, the head turned into a human, but the body didn't. Are you going to transform or not? Oh my God! Is this a human or a beast? Looking at Little Dragon's second combat form, Chu Xiaonan and the others widened their eyes. They could still understand and accept the spirit beast speech, but it could transform into a human head, which was absolutely shocking. Master! Little Dragon raised its eyebrows and said, I want to fight. When the combat form was activated, the blood in its body seemed to be burning, so it was eager to fight. Why don't you fight with Elder Jiang? Jun Changshao said. Don't. Jiangya, who was standing in the distance, hurriedly said, I don't dare to fight with this little monster. If he couldn't even resist Little Dragon's first combat form, he definitely didn't have the courage to compete with Little Dragon's second combat form. How about this? Jun Chang smiled and said, Elder Ning and Elder Jiang, the three of you will fight with my contract beast. The corners of the Ning brothers' mouth twitched. Although they couldn't be sure of Little Dragon's strength, they could tell from its aura that it was definitely very strong. 3 martial kings fighting with it would definitely not be at an advantage. Master. Little Dragon said proudly, the 3 of them are a bit weak, I want to find a stronger opponent. Ha! So arrogant. As expected of my contract beast. In that case. Jun Changshao said, you and I, master and servant, will fight. I agree. Jiangya hurriedly said. Ning Duxing and Ning Duzue also expressed their opinions. The battle between the sect leader and your contract beast will definitely become a legend for eternity. No. Little Dragon said, Master can't beat me. Fuck. This little guy is very strong. Just as he was about to speak, Little Dragon said, Sect leader, are there any Wuhuang powerhouses nearby? I want to fight with such a powerhouse. The corner of sect leader Jun's mouth twitched. Even a sword and martial king like me can't do it. Just find Wuhuang to fight and see what it can do. Yes. Jun Changshao said, there are powerhouses at the level of Wuhuang in the spiritual origin sect of Jinyang County. Okay. Xiao Longlong said, I'll go challenge him. Jun Changshao broke down and said, how long will this second form last? 2 hours. Then let's not go. The journey from here to the Gue Yuan sect is extremely long. Even if we ride the Hurricane Wolf King, it would still take us 6 to 10 hours. Shwa! Little Longlong appeared in front of Jun Changshao. With a wave of its big hand, it directly picked him up. Its leopard-like legs kicked off the ground, and immediately flew up like an arrow released from a bow. In an instant, the whole place was silent. When they saw the sect leader being carried by his contracted beast, they turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the vast sky. After a long while, everyone exclaimed, it can fly. Chapter 541. Some people felt that they were tired of watching Jun Changshao act pretentious and slap people's faces. Couldn't he change the pattern? It's coming. Today, sect leader Jun was successfully slapped in the face by his contracted beast. Because he said that it would take 6 to 10 hours to reach the spirit origin sect while riding the Hurricane Wolf King. Little Longlong wanted to let its master see if it could reach the sect faster by flying in a straight line. Whoosh whoosh in the sky, a cluster of flames sped forward, leaving behind a scarlet stream of light wherever it passed. From the direction of Iron Bone Mountain, the sky seemed to show a very long rainbow light, which only slowly dissipated after a while. Oh my god! Sect leader's contracted beast could fly. Could it be that it wasn't a low-level spirit beast, but a mid-level spirit beast comparable to Wuhuang? The corners of Jiangya and the Ning brothers' mouths twitched. At that moment, they felt extremely lucky that the 3 of them didn't fight Little Longlong together. A spirit beast that could fly was definitely comparable to Wuhuang. Not to mention 3 martial kings attacking together, even if a few more came, they would be completely defeated. After Little Longlong evolved, it had already shocked the entire Iron Bone Mountain. Now that it could even fly after activating its form, the shock in their hearts couldn't be any greater. Chu Xiaonan and the others, who originally doubted the sect leader's contracted beast, were slapped so hard that their faces almost swelled to the sky. Whoosh in the sky, Little Longlong's flames were fully activated. As if it was a propeller, it kept speeding forward. Sect leader Jun, who was being carried, had his black hair dancing in the wind. His face was folded, and he had completely lost his handsome appearance. Who didn't have a difficult time? Screenshots, photos, and other behaviors are prohibited. Of course. Jun Changshao didn't feel embarrassed at all. Instead, he was extremely excited. After Little Long Long activated its second combat form, it had the ability to fly. Could it be that it already had the strength of Wu Huang? The system said, yes. Buzz! The defensive barrier was activated, blocking the sharp wind. Only then was Jun Changshao able to completely relax his facial muscles and laugh loudly. Ahaha! Ahahaha! System, Master. Little Long Long said, my speed is not bad, right? Yes. Super fast. According to Jun Changshao's judgment, not to mention Jinyang County, even going to the heavenly mandate royal city, which was further away, would take no more than 10 minutes. Look! Was this a slap in the face? Jun Changshao disagreed. As long as the contracted beast displayed strength beyond his imagination, he would beat it up viciously. Even whipping it with candles and whips would not be a problem. Whoosh! Little Long Long carried Sect leader Jun and transformed into a fiery red stream of light as he sped away. His speed was simply too fast. Just by chatting, he had already left Iron Bone Mountain. What is that? Oh my god, is that a meteor? How can a shooting star fly straight in the sky? Many martial cultivators and common people in the Green Sun City raised their heads, their eyes filled with shock. This situation was also repeated in other cities. Wherever the fiery red light passed, it would cause an endless stream of discussion. On this day, the fiery red light pierced through the sky. A long time later, there were people who saw it through the records of history, speculating whether or not this was the appearance of a supreme treasure. Spirit Stream Sect. It was an ancient sect with a history of thousands of years. At this moment, many martial cultivators in different attire were walking along the stairs to the mountain gate. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Today, the Spirit Stream Sect was holding a public lecture. This was an event that had lasted for hundreds of years. Although the purpose was to show off, it could also benefit many martial cultivators, so it gradually became a grand event in Jinyang County. I'm so excited. I didn't expect the Grand Elder Yu Hongtai to be the one holding the public lecture. That's Wu Huang, a powerful cultivator. Being able to listen to his understanding of martial arts will definitely benefit you for life. The martial cultivators walking on the stairs were getting more and more excited. I heard that County Governor Zhua is also here. The public lecture of the Spirit Stream Sect benefits all living beings. The fact that the county governor is here shows how much he values it. Many of the clan heads of the major clans are also here. Today, we are not only lucky to listen to Wu Huang's lecture, but also to see such a big shot. It's really an honor. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Don't block my way. As the crowd was discussing, an impatient voice came from behind. Many martial cultivators turned around and saw a middle-aged man in a blue robe, about 30 to 40 years old. He held a wine gourd in his hand and walked over unsteadily. His breath reeked of alcohol. Someone actually dared to come up here while drunk. He was quite bold. Did you hear that? The middle-aged man in a blue robe walked up unsteadily and said, I told you to get out of the way. Because they were in the Spirit Stream Sect, although some people were unhappy, they did not want to lower themselves to the level of a drunk person, so they all chose to move aside. That's right. The middle-aged man in a blue robe walked up step by step. He raised his head and drank a mouthful of wine. He grinned and said, Good dogs don't block the way. Damn it. Everyone immediately glared at him. Plop. The middle-aged man in a blue robe seemed to have drunk too much. He lay down on the stairs and hugged the wine gourd. He narrowed his eyes and said, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep for a while. Everyone's mouth twitched. This guy was not afraid of rolling down the stairs. Snore. The middle-aged man in a blue robe really fell asleep. His snoring could be heard. Everyone shook their heads and continued walking. The gate of the Spirit Stream Sect was wide open. Everyone went up and entered. The outer courtyard of this fourth-rate sect was very big. The martial arts field was also paved with precious stone slabs. At this moment, tens of thousands of disciples of the Spirit Stream sect were sitting cross-legged. There was a high platform facing the main hall. The Grand Elder, Yu Hongtai, sat cross-legged. Smoke rose from the incense burner on the table next to him. He had the demeanor of an immortal. He was extraordinary. The admiration in everyone's eyes grew stronger. Then, they silently found a place to sit down. About an hour later, many foreign warriors gathered in the huge martial arts field. There were about 70 to 80,000 of them. Everyone. At this moment, a middle-aged man with a mighty appearance walked out from the main hall and said loudly, "Welcome to the Spirit Stream sect." County Chief Zhua. Everyone exclaimed. Zhua Chaochuan acted as if he was the master of the sect. He smiled and said, "This time, the Grand Elder of the Gui Yuan sect is giving a lecture. It is the honor of the Xinjiang County. You don't need to be polite. If you have any problems, you can ask." County Chief Zhua. Suddenly, someone said, "I have a problem." Whoosh! Everyone turned their heads to look. At the entrance, the drunk middle-aged man who was sleeping soundly on the stairs had his hand on the door frame. His body was in a sexy shape. Everyone's mouth twitched. The lecture hadn't even started and he already asked a problem. Indeed, drunk people were unreasonable. "It's you." Zhua Chaochuan frowned. The blue-robed middle-aged man drank a mouthful of wine and wiped the wine stain on the corner of his mouth. He smiled and said, "It has been many years since we last met, but County Chief Zhua's cultivation hasn't improved." This sentence almost made all the warriors stumble. No matter if it was someone they knew or someone they were half acquainted with, when they met, they would say that their cultivation hadn't improved in many years. How could it be that his cultivation hadn't improved? This was definitely not a compliment. This was insulting. This person was definitely familiar with the county chief. However, they weren't acquaintances. They were definitely enemies. December 31, 2018, Update 10, yesterday, I said that I would update 10 today because I didn't include the date. What about my reputation? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I purposely added the date today. P.S. Jianghu Gooden wishes everyone a happy new year. I will continue to be handsome for a whole year next year. Chapter 542. Zhua Chaochuan sneered, "Brother Yun's cultivation doesn't seem to have improved after all these years." Although the county chief called that fellow brother, no one could tell that he had a good impression of him. There must be some grudge between the two of them. Sigh. The blue-robed middle-aged man shook his head. "Martial arts is unfathomable. I'm not talented, so I won't have high achievements. However," he paused and grinned, revealing a row of neat white teeth, "I can beat you up." "Is that so?" Zhua Chaochuan's face darkened. The two of them were very far apart. Their eyes met, and a battle of gazes had already begun. The atmosphere also became serious. After a while, the two of them were jealous and looked away. "Brother Yun," Zhua Chaochuan said indifferently, "what problem do you have that you need to solve?" The blue-robed middle-aged man flicked his hair that hadn't been washed for a few days and said indifferently, "You sent 300,000 soldiers to attack the Azure Sun County that I'm in charge of. Isn't that a bit unkind?" The Azure Sun County that he was in charge of? Could it be? Someone said in realization, "This person is the county chief of Azure Sun County?" That's right. The blue-robed middle-aged man was the county chief of Azure Sun County, Yun He. He was a mysterious person who came to Xinjiang County alone. From his words, it wasn't hard to tell that he wanted to seek justice for Azure Sun County. If Xie Guangquan knew, he definitely wouldn't think so. He would even send someone to carry him down the mountain. Why? Because the county chief didn't just like to drink, he was also a drunkard. As long as he was drunk, even a martial emperor would dare to point at his nose and say, "What are you looking at?" As the saying goes, alcohol boosts courage. Before drinking, he was from the Falling Star continent. After drinking, the Falling Star continent was his. Natural selection, survival of the fittest. Zhuo Chaochuan said indifferently, Brother Yun should understand this principle, right? Don't talk nonsense. Yun He burped and said, if you have the ability, then fight me in public. Zhuo Chaochuan frowned. Although he didn't want to fight, with so many people watching, he said coldly, since that's the case, then I'll accept. The martial arts practice field, which was originally full of people, suddenly became empty. The disciples of the Spirit Stream Sect and various martial artists stood outside. A battle between two county governors was extremely rare. Of course. Because they were all from Jinyang County, they would definitely stand on Zhuo Chaochuan's side and look forward to the county governor ruthlessly beating that guy up. Reeking of alcohol, Yun He walked up unsteadily. Zhuo Chaochuan walked forward from another direction. Smelling the scent of alcohol in the air, he subconsciously pinched his nose and thought to himself, as the head of a county, all you know is to drink all day. It really is hard for you to become anything great. In order to accomplish his ambitions, he strictly disciplined himself and did not touch a single drop of alcohol. Putting aside his grudge with the Azure Sun County, he's definitely someone worth learning from. Zhuo Chaochuan. Yun He took another sip of wine and said, today, in front of everyone in Jinyang County, I will let you understand the consequences of bullying Azure Sun County. Zhuo Chaochuan said indifferently, if it wasn't for an iron bone popping out halfway, your 9th-ranked county would have long been taken by this seat. Ha ha ha. Yun He laughed out loud and said, a small sect in my Azure Sun County managed to annihilate your White Tiger Legion. Are you very angry? At the mention of this, Zhuo Chaochuan was furious. However, he suppressed it and said, Brother Yun, can we begin? Yes. Before Yun He finished speaking, his Martial King aura erupted and he rushed forward with a koi movement technique. Martial King! Everyone exclaimed. They did not expect a county governor of a 9th-ranked county to break through to Martial King. Zhuo Chaochuan sneered and his Martial King cultivation erupted. Dense energy gathered in his fists and he directly punched at the void. Bang! Bang! 2 explosions were heard. The surging spiritual energy resonated with the space and quickly condensed into a huge fist. It suddenly pressed down on the charging Yun He. Supreme grade mid-tier, space-trembling fist. Come at me. Yun He stopped and waved his long sleeves. His spirit energy spread out and formed a barrier that looked like a water curtain in front of him. Boom! The fist with the force of 10,000 pounds smashed into the watery barrier. Both sides instantly perished together. 2 different kinds of spiritual energy madly disturbed the outside and stirred up the space. Thump thump thump. Zhuo Chaochuan took a few steps back to stabilize his body. When he looked up, he found that Yun He had disappeared. Where did he go? Snoring sounds came from outside the training field. Zhuo Chaochuan scanned with his spiritual sense and found that Yun He was lying below, snoring with his limbs in the air. Everyone, he was actually able to lie down and sleep in the middle of a fight. What a weirdo. Come. Help me up. I can still drink. Yun He, who was sleeping soundly, did not forget to talk drunkenly. The corner of Zhuo Chaochuan's mouth twitched violently. I actually agreed to the challenge of a drunkard. Is there something wrong with my brain? Men! He shouted in a deep voice, throw him out. County Governor. A strategist said, we can capture this person. Perhaps we can use him for other purposes in the future. Zhuo Chaochuan said, before we take down the Azure Sun County, we will be criticized by others for detaining a county governor without permission. The strategist did not say anything else. The county governor was someone who did great things. However, sometimes, when he cared too much, he would be restrained. Come. Continue drinking. A few soldiers lifted Yun He up. He was still talking drunkenly. Was this guy not here to be a joke? The farce had ended. The disciples of the Spirit Source sect and many martial artists sat down. Zhuo Chaochuan walked into the main hall and chatted with the patriarch of the Gui Yuan sect. Yu Hongtai, who was sitting on the high platform, said loudly, "I have wasted some time just now. Now, you can ask me any questions you have about martial arts." "Senior Yu, I have some questions about martial arts. Please give me some pointers." A family head spoke first. "Feel free to speak," Yu Hongtai said as if he was a martial arts master. "I have been confused about martial arts for a long time." At this point, the family head's face suddenly showed a look of horror. He said, "It's over, it's over. It's over." Everyone was stunned. Subconsciously, they looked in the direction that the family head raised his head. They saw a stream of light behind the main hall flying towards them at high speed. Yu Hongtai also felt a wave of heat coming towards them. He spread out his spiritual senses and discovered the red light that was rapidly approaching. "Oh no! It's about to land. Everyone, run!" The people sitting on the training field were like frightened rabbits. They all fled in all directions. "Humph," Yu Hongtai sneered and immediately raised his hand. The space suddenly distorted, and a gurgling spiritual energy visible to the naked eye was formed. It condensed into a solid enchantment above the hull. Boom! At this moment, the red light hit the barrier like a meteor and shattered it. Then, with a bang, it landed in the center of the training field. Whoosh whoosh, a wave of heat swept over and swept away all the martial artists who could not retreat in time. At the same time, because the force of the landing was too strong, the ground of the entire Spirit Source sect shook violently. The beams of the main hall creaked. The expressions of Zhuo Chaochuan and the patriarch of the Spirit Source sect, who were talking, changed drastically. They released their spiritual senses and covered the area where the force came from. They saw a ball of hot flames appear on the training field out of thin air. The precious stone slabs were either shattered or burned red. In the flames, two figures gradually appeared. A voice sounded, "Head of the Iron Bone clan, Jun Changshao, is here to visit the Spirit Source sect. Please enlighten me." Chapter 543. Jun Changshao, the sect leader of the Iron Bone clan, is here to visit the Spirit Origin sect. Please enlighten me. His words echoed in the sky above the Spirit Origin sect. Coupled with the scorching heat wave, it was extremely pretentious. The cultivators who were swept away stood up with difficulty. All of them widened their eyes. Jun Changshao. Why is he here? And, he flew here. Could it be that the sect leader of the Iron Bone clan had broken through to Wuhuang? Impossible. The recent news about him seemed to have come from the royal city. He was a sword king and martial king. How could he enter Wuhuang? Ta! At this moment, Jun Changshao walked out of the flames. He put his hands behind his back and vomited. Everyone, it was his first time flying, and he flew so fast. It was normal for sect leader Jun to be a little dizzy. Yu Hongtai's expression was very ugly. The defensive barrier he had just formed was broken. It was a big blow to him. Whoosh! Whoosh! Zhuo Chaochuan and the patriarch of the Spirit Origin sect walked out of the main hall. Their expressions became serious. They didn't care about Jun Changshao. They cared about the burning flame behind him. It was emitting a heavy and majestic aura. Yu Hongtai saw the aura emitted from the flame and thought, could it be that this is the person who sneak attacked me earlier? Humph! The great Wu Huang is so despicable. Achoo! He Wudi, who was in the Iron Bone clan, sneezed. He rubbed his nose and said, "Is someone talking bad about me?" Sect leader Jun, the patriarch of the Spirit Origin sect, said coldly, "You came uninvited. What do you want?" Several martial kings of the Spirit Origin sect had died in his hands. They must be enemies. Jun Changshao, who was gradually getting used to the situation, said, "You came to my Azure Sun County to challenge me. It is impolite not to return the favor. Today, I am here to learn from you. He was straightforward. He was here to cause trouble. However, sect leader June was a little puzzled. Why were there so many people in the Spirit Origin sect? Could it be that they knew that he would cause trouble today and prepared melon seeds and stools in advance to watch the show? Move! Get out of my way! At this moment, the drunken Yunhee squeezed his way through the crowd and grinned. You little brat, you only came now. June Changshao frowned. Do we know each other? Smelly brat. Yunhee replied, I'm the county governor of Azure Sun County. Didn't Xie Guanquan mention it to you? County governor? June Changshao recalled the county governor that Xie Guanquan had previously mentioned to him. Looking at the man's attire and his head of white hair, he muttered, he really does resemble him. Like my ass. That's who I am. Cloud Crane said. Wait a minute. Wasn't this guy thrown out while he was asleep? Why did he come back? Zhua Chaochuan. Yunhee said proudly, you and I fought to a draw just now. Now, my sect from the Azure Sun County will challenge your sect from the True Sun County. The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. Based on the situation just now, was it really a draw? Did he just fall to the ground and pretend to be asleep after being sent flying by a punch? Zhua Chaochuan. June Changshao said, so the county governor of True Sun County is also here. Sorry for the disrespect. Sect leader June Zhua Chaochuan said in a deep voice, since you're here to challenge us, you should have walked through the main entrance. Isn't it too rude to fly here? Although the flame was very strong, as the county governor of a 6th grade county, he naturally could not be weak. Don't talk about such useless things. June Changshao said, quickly send someone who can fight. Little Longlong's battle form had a time limit. He had to destroy the place and leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would not be able to return today. Sitting up there is like a fraud. June Changshao pointed at Wu Huang who had chased after him and said indifferently, you. Impudent. Yu Hongtai shouted coldly. Whoosh! The flames suddenly rushed over at an extremely fast speed. It was so fast that even a martial king like Zhua Chaochuan could not keep up with its pace. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The flame was already in front of Yu Hongtai. Its thick arms stretched out and directly hit Yu Hongtai's chest. Old man. Little Longlong's childish voice sounded, be polite when you speak, or I'll beat you up. Yu Hongtai's eyes widened. He immediately staggered backward until he fell off the high platform. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone was dumbfounded. This was the Grand Elder of the Spirit Stream sect, the real Wu Huang. He was actually spitting out blood after being hit by a punch. June Changshao was also a little stunned. He knew that the little guy's second battle form was very strong, but he did not expect it to be so strong. With such an awesome contract beast, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted in southwest Yangzhou? Whoosh! At this moment, little Longlong, who was in the flame, moved again. It appeared in front of Yu Hongtai as if it had teleported. The sky full of flames whistled and instantly turned into balls of fire. Bang! 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 Yu Hongtai, who looked like an immortal, did not even have time to open a protective barrier before he was bombarded. Bang! After the last punch, the Grand Elder of the Spirit Stream sect flew out like a cannonball. He passed through the main hall and directly hit the mountain in the backyard. The distance between the martial arts field and the back mountain was at least 10 miles. Plop! Yu Hongtai fell to the ground and fainted on the spot. It was sad that the mighty Wu Huang had fainted twice in such a short time. Hiss! Everyone gasped. Who was the person in the flame? How could he trample Wu Huang so easily? Master! Little Longlong's voice sounded, that guy is too weak. Is there anyone stronger? The corner of June Changshao's mouth twitched. He had thought that the battle between Little Long Long and Wu Huang would be earth-shattering, but it turned out that Little Long Long had defeated him so easily. Zhuo Chaochuan and the Patriarch of the Spirit Stream Sect widened their eyes. The Iron Bones Sect actually had such a powerful warrior. Master. Little Long Long said, I haven't had enough. Jun Changshao looked at Zhuo Chaochuan and the Patriarch of the Spirit Stream Sect and said, then let's beat them all up. Okay. Little Long Long dragged the flame and rushed over. Boom! Boom! Zhuo Chaochuan and the Patriarch of the Spirit Stream Sect pierced through the wall of the main hall like cannonballs and landed heavily on the back mountain. Then, they fainted beside Yu Hongtai. This was just the beginning. All the elders of the Spirit Stream Sect who were at the Martial King realm could not escape from Little Long Long's claws. They all crashed into the mountain and fainted. After a while, the higher-ups of the Spirit Stream Sect were all lying on the ground. What was even more tragic was the main hall. At this moment, the outer wall of the main hall was full of holes. Not a single one of them can fight. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, this is boring. Let's go home. Whoosh! Little Long Long picked up its master and stomped its right foot. It turned into a fiery red stream of light and flew into the sky again. It could be said that it came and went in a hurry. The cultivators outside the martial arts practice field were all dumbfounded. They had come to the Spirit Stream Sect to listen to a lecture. However, before they could benefit from it, the Grand Elder who was giving the lecture was beaten unconscious. Did you see that? At this moment, Yunhe said loudly, this is the result of bullying my Qingyang County. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, a group of Martial King realm experts of the Xinjiang County who were stationed at the foot of the mountain flew over and quickly surrounded him. TSK, Yunhe smiled coldly. He channeled Qi into his dantian and shouted, Brat, save me. Chapter 544. Let me tell you, if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't want to embarrass myself, I would have definitely taken care of those martial kings. In the wilderness, Yunhe sat on a rock and said with a head full of bumps. The smell of alcohol lingered in the air. Jun Changshao couldn't help but ask, are you really the county chief of Azure Sun County? He had already left, but when he thought of Yunhe, he returned and saved him from being beaten up. Nonsense. Yunhe said, of course I'm the county chief of Azure Sun County. As he spoke, he took out a waist token with golden edges from his interspatial ring. The words County Chief of Azure Sun County were engraved on it. All right. Jun Changshao said, my county chief is a weirdo. Brat. Yunhe took another sip of wine and grinned, it's all because of my good leadership that a sect with unlimited potential like yours can appear in Azure Sun County. Not to mention the group of martial kings who beat him up, even Jun Changshao had the urge to beat him up. Hey! Yunhe pointed at the burning flames in the distance and said in a low voice, who's the one inside? He can actually trample on Wu Huang. Xiao Longlong's battle form was a little scary, so Sect Master Jun specially instructed him to conceal his appearance with the flames and not expose himself. There are still things waiting for me to deal with in the sect. I'll take my leave first. Jun Changshao couldn't be bothered to explain and got up to leave. Wait. Yunhe stood up and patted his shoulder. He said seriously, I like to travel. I'll leave Azure Sun County in your care in the future. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. This guy is really good at shirking his responsibilities. When can I be so carefree? Of course. Yunhe said, I won't treat you unfairly. As he spoke, he threw a waist token and said, from today onwards, you're the county chief of Azure Sun County. Jun Changshao was stunned. However, when he saw the words Deputy County Chief of Azure Sun County written on the waist token, his mouth twitched, isn't this too casual? Brat! Yunhe stood up and left. He waved his hand and said, I'll take my leave first. Lunatic! Jun Changshao muttered. Then, he summoned Little Long Long and turned into a ball of fire before disappearing into the sky. Yunhe drank a mouthful of wine and looked at the sky with misty eyes. He muttered, "Little guy, whether or not Azure Sun County can become stronger will depend on your iron bone." Plop, he fell to the ground and fell asleep. This time, he really drank too much. He slept for a few hours before waking up. Then, he scratched his head and said with a blank face, "Why am I sleeping here? Sigh, I drank too much. Forget it. Seeing that we're all county governors, I won't find trouble with Shuachaochuan." Why is one of the vice-prefectural governor's waist tokens missing? Don't tell me you gave it to someone else when you were drunk. Back to June Changshao. Little Long Long carried her back to the sect. The disciples who were training in the martial arts practice field immediately gathered around and asked about the situation. When they learned that the sect leader's contracted beast had beaten up Wu Huang and many martial kings of the Spirit Stream sect, they all widened their eyes. Oh my God! How awesome was that? It was a pity that they couldn't see it with their own eyes. Master! Little Long 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 returned to its original form. Then, it collapsed on the ground and said weakly, "I need to rest for a while." On the day of the Spirit Stream sect's lecture, Jun Changshao had flown over and beaten up the Grand Elder and the county governor. Immediately, the news spread in southwest Yangzhou. What? The Demon Fiend sect's branch leader who received the news stood up and said in shock, "That guy can defeat Wu Huang?" Reporting to the branch leader. The subordinate said, "The one who attacked was not Jun Changshao. It was a mysterious person shrouded in flames. The Grand Elder of the Spirit Stream sect was beaten up to the point that he couldn't fight back at all. So strong?" The branch leader frowned and said, "Could it be that this little iron bone has an even stronger existence?" The branch leader of the Deicide Temple also received the news. He guessed in shock, "The one who attacked was that Wu Huang? He could easily defeat Yu Hongtai. I'm afraid his rank is very high." The news of the Spirit Stream sect being smashed spread more and more widely. The Heavenly Mandate Royal City also received the news. Situ Haoyun and Yi Tianxing were also shocked for a while. Of course. Many people were discussing who the mysterious person shrouded in flames was. This was destined to be an unsolved mystery. After Princess Red Lotus received the news, she fell into a short period of contemplation and said to herself, "It should be a strong fighter of the fire element." The news of the Iron Bone continued to spread in southwest Yangzhou. Many warriors also realized that this little sect not only had the Sword King and Martial King, but also Wu Huang. For a period of time, many young men and women with dreams in their hearts flocked to Azure Sun County from all over the world, all for the sake of joining this top 3 sect with extraordinary potential. Line up, one by one. Outside the gate of the Iron Bone, Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji were maintaining order. Ning Duxing and Ning Duzue sat at the table with a large stack of admission forms beside them. Now, the two of them not only had to teach disciples, but also had to recruit disciples. "Greetings, elders." A young man walked over. Ning Duxing said, "Name, gender, age, spiritual root, cultivation." "My name is Yang Lan, male, 19 years old, low-grade spiritual root." The young man was introducing himself when he was interrupted by Ning Duxing, "Your spiritual root is too low to meet the entry requirements." Jun Changshao had asked the two of them to recruit disciples, and the condition was that they had to have at least middle-grade spiritual roots. As for low-grade spiritual roots, there was no need to consider them. "Elders," Yang Lan said, "My martial Dao spiritual root is poor, but my array spiritual root is good." "Oh?" Ning Duxing said, "You know about arrays?" Yang Lan handed over a token and said, "This can prove it." There were very complicated lines engraved on the token. At first glance, it looked like some kind of array, and the words first-grade array apprentice were written on it. Array Dao was also divided into different levels. This first-grade array apprentice was a beginner. After Ning Duxing and Ning Duzue exchanged glances, they raised a pen and filled in the admission form. Then, they directly stamped it and said, "Go in, someone will receive you." Yang Lan cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, elders." Even a first-grade array apprentice can join. Someone muttered. Su Xiaoma said in a clear voice, my Iron Bone sect recruits disciples based on their spiritual root aptitude and their specialty. Even the lowest level of medicinal masters will be accepted. I see. Everyone suddenly understood. Those martial cultivators who were originally worried that their aptitude would not pass but had a specialty were suddenly filled with confidence. I know about medical skills. Go in. I am a second-grade medicinal master, go in. In one day, there were a total of 100 disciples accepted. Among them, there were 40 to 50 teenagers with middle-grade spiritual roots, and the rest had a specialty. After Jun Changshao finished cultivating, he took the admission form and saw Yang Lan's name. He murmured, Array Dao is very mysterious. It can be trained to be an array master. There were many kinds of arrays in the 32 formations of wonder. He did not have time to study all of them. If there were disciples who knew about arrays, he could give them to study and benefit the sect. Chapter 545. Things like array formations were really mysterious. Even the simplest isolation array, as long as it was used properly, could play an unexpected role. Therefore, sect leader Jun had plans to train array masters. Although he relied on the formation aptitude liquid to easily level up, he was still the leader of a sect, so he couldn't do it himself every time. Sigh. If only there was a formation aptitude liquid in the store. The system said, host can refresh the store. Damn. Instigating me to spend contribution points again. However, after recruiting 100 disciples today, he had given more than 100 contribution points. He was about to exceed the limit, so sect leader Jun pulled out the system store. After buying 10,000 swords, there was nothing worth buying in the mid-level store, so he decisively refreshed the store. Ding! Contribution points, 989010000. Whoosh. Jun Changshao took a deep breath and muttered, I hope I can get something good. Because of the uncertainty, he always felt like he was gambling, nervous and expectant. Fuck. After reading it, Jun Changshao collapsed, there's nothing useful. It was common to not be able to get anything good in the beginner's store. With the luck value +5 title, there was nothing in the mid-level store. His luck was really bad. If he wanted to continue refreshing the store, he had to buy an item. In other words, this time, at least 1,100 contribution points would be wasted. Jun Changshao's flesh hurt, his teeth hurt, his whole body hurt. How can you see the rainbow without experiencing the wind and rain? Believe me, you can do it. Only when spending contribution points to refresh the store would the system know how to encourage people and not attack them with its poisonous tongue. Damn it. I don't believe in evil. Jun Changshao carefully browsed the store again. In the end, he gritted his teeth and spent 1,000 contribution points to buy a bottle of magic hair modification gel. Reason for purchase. His head could be broken, but his hairstyle couldn't be messed up. Huff. Jun Changshao took a deep breath and pulled down the store again. Ding! Contribution points, 879010000. Fuck! After reading it, Jun Changshao leaned his head against the wall and wanted to cry but had no tears. There's nothing good, what's the use of this luck value? The system said, don't be discouraged. At this pace, if you continue to refresh, you'll definitely get something good. Like hell I'll believe you. Jun Changshao said. I don't want to farm anymore, I don't want to play anymore. Unless the host doesn't need to use the mid-tier store anymore, you'll still have to buy it to refresh. Since that's the case, why don't you refresh it now? The system said. That made sense. Good. One more time. Jun Changshao also bought a multifunctional hairdryer. Not only could it dry his hair, but it could also shave his beard. She washed and dried her hair. Get a billion haircut and spray it. Perfect. Ding. Contribution points, 769010000. Sect leader June refreshed the store for the third time, and his eyes were almost wet. Spending 2,300 contribution points in such a short period of time only to buy 2 daily necessities was definitely a heartache. Fortunately, the third refresh did not disappoint him. A useful item appeared in the first row. It was called the Array Sharing Bracelet. Share? Click on the details. The so-called Array Sharing Bracelet, after wearing it, could establish a sharing mechanism with the designated target, thus allowing the user to control all the arrays he had set up. I thought it was an array that shared mutual understanding. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "It's useless." "It's useful." The system said, when the host is outside, the sect protection array is either open every day or closed at all times. If you share the array with the disciple, you can let him decide if it's open or closed according to the situation. Makes sense. Jun Changshao said. The sect protection array was bought from the store. The drawback was that as long as it was activated, it would consume contribution points. It was unrealistic to keep it open every day. If it was closed and he happened to not be in the sect, it would be very troublesome if an expert came to cause trouble. I'll buy it. He spent 1,000 contribution points to buy the Array Sharing Bracelet. It was a pair of exquisite small bracelets with the words main and vice engraved on them. After putting on the main bracelet, Jun Changshao muttered, "Who should I give this bracelet to?" At first, he was thinking about Li Qingyang. But a grown man giving a bracelet to another grown man, this was a little exciting. Qianshan is not here. Otherwise, I would give it to her. Jun Changshao muttered. Sect Master. Li Luoqiu walked in from outside and said, "Can you give my Drizzle Hall a few more training rooms?" Jun Changshao's eyes suddenly lit up. Apart from carrying out special missions, this woman was in the sect almost every day. Giving the switch of the sect protection array to her was undoubtedly the best choice. Hall Master Li Jun Changshao smiled and said, "I have a bracelet here. If you like it, you can take it." Li Luoqiu was stunned. "You're giving me a bracelet? Is there a problem?" Jun Changshao said. "Of course there is a problem." Li Luoqiu said, "It's the custom of the Starfall continent. When the man is engaged, he will give the woman a bracelet to show his love. There's such a custom." Jun Changshao was stunned. Li Luoqiu blinked and said with a smile, "Sect Master gave me a bracelet, could it be that you have feelings for me?" "No." Jun Changshao said, "Not at all." Li Luoqiu smiled and said, "So, Sect Master, you should give it to a woman who has feelings for you. People of Jianghu don't care about trifles. Besides, I've given one to you before. You don't have to care about the custom." Jun Changshao said. "Who did you give it to?" "Lu Qianshan." Li Luoqiu said in surprise, "The bracelet on her hand was given by Sect Master?" "Yes." Jun Changshao said. Li Luoqiu thought, Lu Qianshan is from an extraordinary family. She must know the custom of giving bracelets. Since she accepted it, I'm afraid there's a problem. Don't waste time. Hurry up and put it on. Jun Changshao threw the bracelet over and told her its function. "I see. I was wondering why Sect Master gave me a bracelet for no reason." Li Luoqiu, who used to be an assassin, didn't care about the custom. She happily put on the exquisite bracelet. Needless to say, the two quickly established a sharing mechanism. Li Luoqiu walked out of the main hall. With a thought, the sect protection formation, which was in a suspended state, was immediately activated. Ding! Sect contribution points, 6680100000. Show! The formation closed. Show! The formation opened again. Ding! Sect contribution points, 6670100000. Li Luoqiu wanted to try a few more times. Jun Changshao hurriedly ran out and said, "Hall Master Li, this sect protection formation can't be used casually. Otherwise, my calories will be burned." "Sect Master, what are calories?" On a snow-covered mountain peak, Lu Qianqian floated. Because she was wearing a white school uniform, she seemed to be one with the world. After an unknown period of time, she retracted her gaze from the southwest direction and subconsciously looked at the bracelet on her wrist. After I broke through Wuzong, the bracelet's amplification effect disappeared. Lu Qianqian gently took it off. She originally wanted to throw the bracelet into her spatial ring, but after a moment of hesitation, she put it back on her wrist. Shwa! Like a graceful fairy, she flew down, heading towards the snow-covered Luzhou in the northeast. Chapter 546. After giving the shared bracelet to Li Luoqiu, Sect leader Jun spent 200 contribution points to buy 10 body technique training rooms for the Drizzle Hall. This thing was the same as the molding room. It was a basic facility, and it was mainly targeted at speed. The new disciples mainly focused on molding their bodies and increasing their spiritual energy, so they were assigned to the Drizzle Hall and trained according to the Killer method. After Hall Master Li left, Jun Changshao continued to browse through the mid-level store, and then saw another item called Spirit Tempering Pill Formula. He clicked on the details. Item, Spirit Tempering Pill Formula. Effect, can refine the spiritual energy in the Cyclone and Spirit Core, thus condensing a stronger combat strength. Price, 1,000 contribution points. Jun Changshao murmured, it seems pretty good. Ding! Host has spent 1,000 contribution points and obtained Spirit Tempering Pill Formula X1. It has been transferred to the Space Ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 547010000. The formula was automatically matched to the Alchemy Pavilion. Sect leader Jun happened to have 6 herbs to refine, so he could refine 50 pills. Thus, he pressed the button to refine the pills to the maximum without hesitation. He continued to browse through the store. The mid-level thunderclap technique appeared in his field of vision. The Spirit Beast Hall had the basic thunderclap technique, and the mid-level one was naturally the upgraded version. However, because he didn't have a suitable Thunder Crystal core, Sect leader Jun hadn't given the Purple Lightning Tiger a basic skill yet. I'll buy it first, I can use it in the future. Ding! After buying the mid-level thunderclap technique, it was automatically matched to the Spirit Beast Hall. This mid-level skill required even more Thunder Crystal cores. If Sect leader Jun wanted to collect enough, it would definitely take some time. It seems that I have to ask the procurement hall to pay more attention to Thunder Crystal cores. Jun Changshao continued to browse through the store and found that there was nothing good, so he retracted the system panel. Keep farming. The system urged. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said, I spent almost 6,000 contribution points in such a short time. Even if you don't feel the pinch, I do. Originally, he was aiming for the formation aptitude liquid, but he didn't get it even after spending so many contribution points. This matter told him that if he couldn't forget it, there would be no response. However, it was worth it to be able to get the formula and the mid-level thunderclap technique. Ding! The Spirit Tempering Pill was ready. Jun Changshao took out the pill and swallowed it without hesitation. Hu, in the blink of an eye, the spiritual energy in the 2 spiritual cores in his dantian began to boil violently, and then began to be refined and sublimated. When breaking through a major realm, one's spirit energy would undergo a similar tempering. The 3rd level of the training tower also had the effect of tempering one's spiritual energy. Now that he had experienced it again with the Spirit Tempering Pill, he felt really good. An hour later, the tumbling spiritual energy returned to normal. Jun Changshao clenched his fists. Spirit energy gathered in his meridians, and he realized that his strength was much higher than before. Bang! Inside the training room, a punch was delivered with a force of 5 million Jin. I'll go. Jun Changshao said in surprise. After taking 1 spirit tempering pill, it actually increased by 500,000 kilograms. The system said, this is not strength fried rice, it is a permanent increase. Jun Changshao said with a burning gaze, isn't it the same as the body shaping pill? The body-shaping pill increases the strength of the body to increase combat strength, while the spirit-tempering pill refines spiritual energy to increase combat strength. There is a fundamental difference between the two. The system explained. Jun Changshao said, if we can mass-produce it and let each disciple take one, it will definitely be very good. It was good. But the materials were lacking. Therefore, medicinal herbs, seeds, and so on had to be supplied. The next day, the members of the procurement hall went down the mountain one after another and went to various cities to purchase martial arts resources, focusing on the thunder crystal cores and medicinal herbs or seeds for refining the spirit-tempering pill. Seeds were easy to find, but medicinal herbs and crystal cores were a bit difficult, especially the rare thunder crystal cores. I have to find time to look for them myself. Jun Changshao said. The crystal cores with special attributes were definitely in the dangerous deep mountains and forests. It was still a bit dangerous to give them to the disciples. However, with the improvement of Iron Bone's overall strength, the missions issued by the mission distributor were constantly changing. Many of the missions were focused on hunting high-ranked ferocious beasts. That was inevitable. A group of martial masters and Wuzong disciples would definitely be out of place to do missions like delivering letters and fetching water every day. The fire dragon had activated its second form, but it was still in a weak state. Yangjun, who followed his daughter to the sect, had also become the second chef of Iron Bone. In the way of cooking, Yangjun was an expert. The food he made was not inferior to Lu Wancher's at all. The Iron Bone disciples had a new supply of delicious food and were rejuvenated. When they cultivated, they were also full of passion. As for the white-clothed youth who cheated, he was still enjoying the torture from the happy football. His life was worse than death. Are you comfortable? On this day, Jun Changshao came to visit him in the prison cell. The white-clothed youth lay on the ground with disheveled hair and said in a hoarse voice, Sect. Sect leader Jun, spare me. His entire face was swollen and bruised. There was no place that was intact. Jun Changshao said, if I didn't spare you, you would have died 10,000 times by now. The white-clothed youth was a smart person. He knew that if the other party didn't kill him, he must think that he was useful. However, he didn't say anything and only knew how to torture him every day. What was the point of that? Kid. Jun Changshao said, what's your name? Zhao. Zhao Daodu. The white-clothed youth said with difficulty. Xiao Mu. Jun Changshao said, continue to beat him. Yes. Su Xiaoma walked in from outside and beat Zhao Daodu up without saying anything. Eat, sleep, beat Daodu. Jun Changshao said, just based on your name, it would be embarrassing if I didn't beat you up. Zhao Daodu collapsed on the ground. He was crying in his heart. Jun Changshao said, there are at least 8,000 people who have been cheated by you over the years. It's only right that you suffer a little in the Iron Bone prison. Sect leader Jun. I've only cheated rich and powerful people. I've never cheated poor people. Zhao Daodu said weakly. Ha! Jun Changshao said, you're also a chivalrous swindler. Zhao Daodu endured the pain and tried his best to speak smoothly. He said, after I finished my apprenticeship, the records of all the people I cheated and the people I cheated were recorded in the records. Except for when I was young and immature, I cheated a girl of the same age of her first kiss. All the people I cheated deserved it. After you finished your apprenticeship? Jun Changshao held his chin and said, from what you're saying, there are people who teach you the art of cheating? Zhao Daodu was silent. Jun Changshao didn't have any interest in continuing to ask. He said, just stay in prison from now on. When I'm in a good mood, I might let you go. Creak. The prison door closed. Su Xiaoma followed behind and said, this guy pretended to be the sect leader and cheated outside. His character is very bad. Why don't we just kill him? Jun Changshao rubbed his nose and said, since he cheated from a young age, he can be considered to have some skills. Let's lock him up in the sect first. Who knows, he might come in handy in the future. You're keeping him for nothing, Su Xiaoma said. Of course not. When you have nothing to do, just eat, sleep and beat Daodu. Sect leader, I understand. Su Xiaoma's lips curled up into a sinister smile. Chapter 547. After a few days, the members of the procurement hall returned with a full load. Most of them bought medicinal herbs and seeds. There were also crystal cores and ores, but the proportion was very small. Jun Changshao put the useful medicinal herbs into his space ring and used them to refine various pills. The seeds were taken away by the people of the medicine hall. After dividing them one by one, they would be soaked in the seed-nurturing pool and planted. After this period of planning, the Iron Bone Division was gradually on the right track. There were many things that the sect leader didn't need to ask about and would be carried out in an orderly manner. The day of being a hands-off shopkeeper is just around the corner. Elder Wei. Jun Changshao took out the list of seeds for refining the spirit-tempering pill and specifically said, "Plant these first. I have a big use for them." Elder Wei took it and looked at it carefully. Although the quality is high, it's not a big problem. It will mature in about a month or two. With the recovery of spiritual energy, the number of members had increased, and the land had been improved. The current medicinal garden was definitely not inferior to the large sects in terms of cultivating medicinal herbs. After leaving the medicine hall, Jun Changshao went to the Wolf Rider Hall. Shui Rengui and Tao Yuan were discussing the training plan in the hall. Because they were so focused on the discussion, the sect leader stood aside for a long time before he saw them. Sect leader. The two hurriedly cupped their hands. Jun Changshao crossed his arms and smiled. You guys continue, I will listen quietly. Shui Rengui and Tao Yuan discussed again. They were talking about military training. Sect leader Jun didn't know much about it, so he didn't interfere. A moment later, after the two finished discussing, they listed a complete set of plans. Jun Changshao said, "Under your leadership, I believe that the Wolf Rider Hall will become stronger and stronger, and become the strongest army in the Falling Star continent." Shui Rengui was old, and his hot-bloodedness had settled down long ago. The young Tao Yuan hurriedly saluted and said in a loud voice, "I will not disappoint sect leader." Next, sect leader Jun watched the daily training of the new members of the Wolf Rider Hall. There were only 1,000 hurricane wolves. The new members could temporarily use them to practice, while the old members focused on cultivation. If the hurricane wolves live in the mountains where the spiritual power has recovered, their reproduction and growth rate will increase by a lot. In the future, it won't be a problem for everyone to have one. Speaking of the hurricane wolf, sect leader Jun thought of journey to the west. In the second half of this year, he thought of the hurricane wolf king. Although this fellow was obedient to him, it was merely subdued and not truly subdued, so he still had to sign a contract with it to become a contracted beast. In the beginning, sect leader Jun's cultivation wasn't as high as the hurricane wolf king's, so he forced himself to sign the contract. If he failed, his soul would suffer a backlash. But now that he was a sword and martial king, he could easily win the contract. 4 hours later, Jun Changshao successfully signed a contract with the Hurricane Wolf King and obtained another contract beast. At the same time, in the Spirit Beast Hall's elementary wind riding technique, the wind-type dire beast had reached 11. All the data matched, which meant that it could learn a skill now. Whoosh! In the forest of Iron Bone Mountain, a strong wind burst out. Its speed was so fast that it left people dumbfounded. Step! After a while, the Hurricane Wolf King stopped. Its hair that seemed to be standing on end gradually fell back. The wind-type energy condensed around its body dissipated, and its eyes were filled with human-like excitement. Just now, a special energy seeped into its sea of consciousness, allowing it to obtain a certain ability for no reason. After it was activated, its speed was actually many times faster than before. This was the elementary wind riding technique. Although there was a time limit and usage limit, it would greatly increase its movement speed for a short period of time. The Hurricane Wolf King was originally known for its speed. If it learned this skill, it would definitely be like a tiger that had grown wings. However, our sect leader June was unlucky. Because he was sitting on the back of the Hurricane Wolf, the sudden acceleration of the short distance directly blew his hair straight. Damn it! When he went back, he must use hair gel to fix his hairstyle. The two elders, Ning Duxing and Ning Duzue, were not idle either. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they would teach Wu-Tang martial arts. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, they would sit at the mountain gate and be responsible for recruiting disciples. As the sect's reputation grew, more and more martial cultivators joined the sect. Among them, there were many who were in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. These people who already had a good foundation in martial arts would definitely be recruited by the Iron Bone sect. However, they were more interested in whether they had a skill or not. After more than 10 days of recruitment, they really recruited a lot of martial cultivators with a skill, such as 6th and 7th grade medicinal masters, and doctors who had a little knowledge of medicine. Moreover, they also recruited 4 array masters. After some consideration, Jun Changshao decided to establish the array hall. The hall master would be. Li Luocho said, "Why is it my part-time job again? Beautiful women work more." Jun Changshao laughed. Li Luocho was speechless. "What other halls do you want to open?" "Just open one. It's not a burden for me to have too many halls now. Now that you mention it, you really reminded me." Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "Both Miaohua Palace and Sangshan Sect have discipline halls. Our Iron Bones Sect can't do without one. So we'll build one first and let you take over." Li Luocho was even more speechless. Drizzle Hall, Procurement Hall, Array Hall, and Discipline Hall's Hall Master. Who in the Falling Star continent has more positions than me? Establishing the Array Hall and Discipline Hall was just to make preparations for the sect to be more complete. When he found more suitable candidates in the future, he definitely wouldn't let Li Luocho take over. "We still need 587 disciples to reach 10,000, Jun Changshao murmured. Based on the number of martial cultivators joining the sect during this period, it should be full in less than a month. "Sect Master," Li Qingyang said. Another 2 disciples who just joined suddenly fainted. This kind of problem often occurred among the disciples recruited during this period. He was very puzzled and wondered if there was something wrong with them. Only Sect Master Jun knew. If the disciples who joined the sect suddenly fainted, they must have been punished by the system. In other words, some people didn't join to cultivate martial arts, but to obtain secrets. People fear fame just as pigs fear being fat. It's a pity that no matter what you do, if you have the slightest disloyalty to my Iron Bone, your memories will be erased. Jun Changshao directly banished the disciples who fainted from the sect. He didn't kill them not because he was kind, but because he secretly ordered the people of the Drizzle Hall to keep an eye on the targets and see which faction sent them. That one called Lu Zhiyun was sent by the Deicide Hall, and the one called Sun Ku was sent by the Demon Fiend Sect. Li Luocho told him the information she just received. Jun Changshao sat on the chair and supported his chin with his palms, saying, 2 third-rate evil sects, and they still can't forget about my Iron Bone. Should I give them a definite response? Li Luocho said, according to the information we received, the 2 factions have been very obedient recently and haven't made any moves. Under her management, the Drizzle Hall's information network had been extended a lot, especially to the factions that were hostile to the sect. It could be said that they were monitoring them 24/7. Jun Changshao said, "It seems that they just want to understand how my Iron Bone became so strong." Yes. The 2 evil sects had this intention. The other factions might not have any ill intentions towards Iron Bone, but they sent spies to find out how an unranked sect could rise in such a short time. However, with the system's punishment, the various factions were destined to not take away any valuable information from the sect. Chapter 548. Jun Changshao estimated that it would take at least a month to recruit 10,000 people, but he was wrong. In the next few days, martial cultivators from far away arrived one after another. The number of people who came to join the sect was several times more than usual. This was impossible. At dawn, there were already 700 to 800 martial cultivators gathered at the mountain gate. If they didn't consider aptitude, they could easily gather 10,000 people. Not only would they meet the sect standards, but they would also be able to trigger a sect mission. There was no such thing as random recruitment. The Ning brothers strictly followed the sect master's instructions and asked them one by one. In the end, only 200 martial cultivators met the requirements. The next day, there were also 600 to 700 disciples who came to apply for the sect. In this way, in just the 5th day, the sect's members had increased from the initial 9413 to 9999. We're still short of one person. After hearing the notification, Jun Changxiao's eyes flashed with passion. Sect Master. Li Qingyang reported, there's an old man outside who wants to see you. Someone who joined the sect? He didn't say he wanted to join the sect. He only said he wanted to see you. Jun Changxiao walked out. At this moment, the martial cultivators who couldn't join Iron Bone had already left. It seemed quite empty. In the cool breeze, an old man in a long robe stood. He looked to be in his 60s or 70s. He had a head full of black hair and sharp eyes. He didn't look old at all. You're Jun Changxiao. His voice was loud and clear. At first glance, it sounded like he was in his 30s or 40s. This person took good care of himself. That's right. Jun Changxiao said, Senior, why have you come to Iron Bone? The old man said, I heard that your sect is recruiting heroes from all over the world. This old man has come to join. The Ning brothers frowned. If you want to join the sect, why don't you say something? After coming, you want to see the sect master directly. You're really arrogant. Jun Changxiao said, Iron Bone doesn't accept nameless people. I wonder what's so special about you, Senior. He released his spiritual sense but couldn't find out what cultivation level the other party was at. There were only two possibilities. First, he deliberately hid his cultivation level. Second, he didn't have any cultivation level. If it's the second type, then I'm sorry. No matter how old you are, you still have to go back the way you came. The old man said, This old man is not proficient in martial arts, but I know a little about formations. If Iron Bone lacks a formation master, this old man can reluctantly take up the position of formation elder. The corners of the Ning brothers' mouths twitched. He hadn't even entered the sect and he already wanted to be an elder. This old man was really arrogant. Jun Changxiao said, Whether you understand formations or not doesn't depend on words alone. It depends on your actions as well. Plop. A waist token inlaid with gold fell on the table. The old man said, This is this old man's proof of being a formation master. The Ning brothers lowered their heads to take a look, and their expressions immediately changed. The words 9th grade Array King were engraved on the plate. Array King. And a rank 9 at that. The Ning brothers had traveled extensively. Naturally, they knew that although there were many array masters in the Falling Star continent, it was still extremely rare to see a 9th grade Array King. Is this waist token a fake? Jun Changxiao transmitted his voice. Before Sun Bukong entered the sect, he had taken out a bunch of Great Emperor's successor tokens, which made him more cautious. He was afraid that the other party was a swindler. Ning Duxing held the waist token in his hand, and his spiritual sense permeated the intricate patterns carved on it. He transmitted his voice, Sect Master, it's real. This kind of waist token that represented the proof of being a formation master was issued by the Array Formation Association. It contained a pocket-sized formation. After the spiritual sense was activated, one could see whether it was real or fake. It was almost impossible to fake it. Moreover, organizations like the Array Formation Association and the Certification Hall were not forces of authority. They were very strict about the authenticity of other people's tokens. Even if they could fake it, no one would dare to do so. Sect Master Jun, the old man said, if you still don't believe me, this old man can personally set up a formation for you to see. Sure. Jun Changshao still had to try. What if the waste token was picked up on the road? The old man said, Sect Master Jun, what kind of formation do you want this old man to set up? This, Jun Changshao transmitted his voice, Elder Ning, what kind of formation is suitable for a formation king to set up? Although he was also a formation master, he had only learned the Qi Men 32 formations and did not systematically learn the formations of the falling star continent, so he knew nothing about it. Sect Master Ning Duxing transmitted his voice, you can let him set up a high-grade thunder-gathering formation. Formation masters were divided into levels, and so were formations. Just like weapon aptitude, they were divided into low-grade, mortal grade, and so on. A high-grade thunder-gathering formation was just suitable for the formation king level. Of course. This was the division of the falling star continent. Jun Changshao relied on the formation aptitude transformation liquid to raise his level, as well as the mid-grade spirit-gathering formation, which was not related to the level of this plane. In comparison, his understanding of array formations and the spirit-gathering array that he set up could reach the level of a king. In other words, Sect Master Jun was not a sword martial king, but a sword martial king. Sho. Low-key, low-key. Jun Changshao said, Senior, let's set up a thunder-gathering formation first. The old man shook his head and smiled, it seems that Sect Master Jun still doesn't believe me when you ask this old man to set up a high-grade formation. Alright. He waved his long sleeves and said, then I'll show you my incompetence. Shio. Shio. Streams of light flew out from his sleeves, neatly inserted a few meters away from him, and formed a circle. Jun Changshao looked at them and found that they were small golden triangular flags. These are formation flags. The system said, a tool used to set up formations. Jun Changshao said in surprise, professional. Shwa. The old man picked up a wooden stick and waved it with one hand, beginning to draw on the ground, like a master holding a brush and painting with full concentration. Very professional. This was what the Ning brothers thought in their hearts. Shwa. Shwa. In just a moment, within the range of the formation flags, a complicated formation was outlined, and the complexity was dazzling. As a formation master, Sect Master Jun could see the knack of it and secretly exclaimed, vigorous and powerful, like flying dragons and dancing phoenixes, this is definitely a formation master. Shwa. When the end of the last line was connected, the old man walked out and threw away the wooden stick. With his hands behind his back, he held his head high and chest out, looking like a master of a generation. Buzz! In an instant, the formation flags and the intricate lines flashed, causing the mountain gate to shine brightly. Shio, the light barrier, soared into the sky, and an array was formed in an instant. Good! Jun Changshao couldn't help but clap his hands. Just from the smooth way of setting up the array, he was sure that this was definitely a real talent. Sect Master Jun, the old man said, the thunder gathering array has been formed, we can send someone to test it. Elders. Jun Changshao said, enter the array and check it out. Ha! The Ning brothers' mouths twitched. A high-grade thunder gathering array was a high-level offensive array, and they would definitely be in trouble if they went in. The reason why formation masters were respected in the falling star continent was that the high-grade arrays they set up were not inferior to martial kings. In terms of strength, they couldn't beat martial kings. But if they became enemies, they could set up offensive arrays in front of your door every day, and they didn't believe that they couldn't kill you. Ning Duxing collapsed. If I had known, I would have set a defensive array. There was no other way. He had dug the hole himself, and he had to fill it with his life. Boom! Boom! The Ning brothers resolutely walked in, and they immediately heard the sound of thunder, and the array was trembling. Jun Changshao couldn't bear to look and turned his head. Senior's understanding of arrays is admirable, Jun. Sect Master Jun, the old man said, are you qualified to be an elder? Yes. Jun Changshao said, however, my iron bone doesn't have an elder position. If you want to join, you can be the hall master of the array hall. Sure enough, after his unremitting efforts, he had built up the sect's reputation, and even a 9th-grade array king had taken the initiative to join. At that moment, Sect Master Jun felt a sense of accomplishment. The old man muttered to himself, as long as I can taste the dishes cooked by that girl, it's not impossible to be a hall master. Ga. Sect Master Jun was instantly petrified. Ahaha. The system's laughter echoed in his ears. Chapter 549. Sect Head Jun felt a sense of accomplishment when a 9th-grade array king came to join him. However, he was slapped in the face because he didn't come for the sect's reputation. He came for Lu Wancher. Recently, the most popular topic in southwest Yangzhou was iron bone. However, someone learned about the culinary competition that ended in Monarch City not long ago. Who was it? This 9th-grade array king. He had lived for hundreds of years and only had 2 hobbies. Studying arrays. Eating all the delicacies in the world. When he learned that Lu Wancher, an iron bone disciple, got full marks in 3 rounds of competition and successfully won the championship, he was very interested. He had gone to watch the culinary competition before but returned disappointed. Because he was picky, he could find a lot of problems even if he ate the food made by the champion. The reason why he came to Iron Bone was to see how the food made by that girl could get full marks from all 10 judges. For food. Joining the Iron Bone. This 9th-grade array king had quite a character. Old people were more or less abnormal, so there was no need to make a fuss. However, Sect Head Jun's heart was hurt. Could it be that the iron bone that I painstakingly made is not as charming as Dudu's food? So painful. My heart hurts so much. No. Jun Changshao said, Dudu is also my disciple. She can attract a 9th-grade array king to join, that's also my credit. After explaining to himself, he was immediately energized. Senior. He walked to the table and picked up the entry form. May I know your name? The sect was still short of 1 person, and this was a 9th-grade array king. They definitely didn't need to consider recruiting him. As for whether he would leave or not. Sorry, if he joined my iron bone, he would be an iron bone person for the rest of his life. The old man put his hands behind his back and said proudly, Zhen Dejuan. Hearing this name, the muscles on Jun Changshao's face froze. Lu Wancher's father was called O Yangjun. He could accept it, but this Zhen Dejuan was a little fucked up. Why didn't you be more shameless and call yourself Zhen Deshui? So it's Senior Zhen Deshui. Sorry. Zhen Dejuan. He stamped the sect leader's seal on it and said, Elder Zhen, from today onwards, you are a member of the Iron Bone. Zhen Dejuan said, Sect Master, this old man wants to see the girl who won the culinary competition. Old man, do you know how much of a mental blow your words have dealt to Sect Master Jun? Can't you show the ecstasy of joining Iron Bone from the bottom of your heart? Whoosh! The thunder-gathering array was removed. Ning Duxing and Ning Duzue were lying on the ground with charred bodies. Even their hair was afro. To be able to reduce 2 high-ranked martial kings to such a sorry state, one could see how terrifying an offensive king-grade formation was. Sect leader. Lu Wancher wiped her hands on her apron, then walked into the hall and asked, Why are you looking for me? Jun Chang smiled and said, This is a senior who just joined the sect. He wants to try your cooking. Lu Wancher looked at Zhen Dejuan and curled her lips, Sect leader, it's almost time to eat. This disciple still has work to do. Iron Bone now had close to 10,000 disciples. Although Ouyang Jun was helping, every meal was a lot of work. How could she have time to show others her culinary skills? That's true. Jun Changshao said, Go and do your work first. We'll talk after you're done. Okay. Lu Wancher returned to the cafeteria. Elder Zhen. Jun Changshao said with a smile, It's almost time to eat. You can eat with everyone. Jin Dejuan shook his head and said, when a master chef cooks, it's the same as this old man's array. Just now, he casually set it up. Even if it's also a thunder-gathering array, its power is definitely not as good as a serious one. Ha! Does this mean that the previous thunder-gathering array was casually set up? Can he set up a stronger one? Jun Changshao said with a smile, Elder Zhen, you don't know. Dudu's pursuit of food is very strict. Even if it's a big pot of food, it's still a delicacy. Is that so? Jin Dejuan said, then this old man will try it. From his eyes, it could be seen that he was very doubtful. After all, there were so many disciples in a sect. The workload of cooking was huge. If it was done in a hurry, it would definitely be soulless. In the cafeteria. Because there were more and more disciples, Li Qingyang had expanded it many times. At this moment, it could already accommodate 10,000 disciples. At present, Iron Bone's widest and largest building was here. It was time to eat. The disciples rushed in with a sincere smile on their faces. Cultivating martial arts was undoubtedly a boring thing. Being able to eat a delicious meal could sweep away all tiredness and troubles. Jun Changshao carried out a reform in the cafeteria. Imitating the previous world units and school cafeterias, disciples needed to take their own plates and line up to receive food. Jin Dejuan came early. Seeing the buckets and plates placed on the dining table, he shook his head. Obviously. These dishes were all made from a big pot. The more it was like this, the more soulless it was. Therefore, it could only be evaluated as a failure. Elder Zhen. Jun Changshao came over with a plate and said with a smile, this is your first time joining Iron Bone. I will personally get food for you. This showed how a boss was thirsty for talent and how empathetic he was to his subordinates. Whether you believe it or not, I can't make it up anymore. Jin Dejuan glanced at the rice, 3 dishes and 1 soup, shook his head and said, soulless food will only make this old man lose hope in life. The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. This old man was really a bit arrogant. Elder Zhen. Jun Changshao said with a smile, the quality of food can't be judged by appearance. Only after eating it can you give a fair evaluation. Okay. Jin Dejuan picked up the chopsticks and said, this old man will reluctantly try it. As he said, he picked up a piece of eggplant and put it into his mouth reluctantly. He tasted it with the mentality of a very picky customer. He chewed slowly. He felt slowly. After a while, Jin Dejuan put down the chopsticks and said with trembling hands, what did I eat? It was definitely not a meal. Whoosh! He put down the shelf, picked up the chopsticks and ate the eggplant. The way he ate. One couldn't tell that he was a picky person at all. He was more like a person who hadn't eaten for a few days. Senior brother. Su Xiaoma said in a low voice, is the sect master being kind and taking in a beggar who hasn't eaten for a few days? Don't talk nonsense. Li Qingyang said, this is a 9th grade array king. Ha! Su Xiaoma opened his eyes wide. He didn't know much about arrays, but he had heard of array kings. Wasn't such an awesome person supposed to be an immortal master? Why was it that when he ate, he wasn't as elegant as a boorish man like him? The other disciples were also discussing in a low voice. They didn't know that Jin Dejuan hadn't eaten for a few days because he was hungry. It was because he couldn't control himself when he encountered delicious food. Although Su Xiaoma and the others could tell that Lu Wancher's cooking was a delicacy, that was it. They did not dig deeper. Jin Dejuan was different. He was a foodie, a real foodie. After finishing all 3 dishes and 1 soup, Jin Dejuan raised his head and sighed, after eating, every inch of my skin and every strand of my hair seems to resonate with the heaven and earth. This is the soul that this old man is looking for. I'm lucky enough to taste it. I have no regrets in this life. P.S. 4th update, please vote. Chapter 550. Jin Dejuan's soul was devoured by the food made from the big pot. He was a true foodie. This also showed that Lu Wancher's cooking skills were really good. If she cooked for him slowly, his soul would fly out of the falling star continent and into the sea of stars. It's decided. From this moment on, I, Jin Dejuan, am a member of Iron Bone. If there was a time limit, it would be a lifetime. In ancient times, a bowl of fried rice from Wang could betray the country. Today, Jin Dejuan's meal made him join the sect wholeheartedly. It would definitely become a legend. All of you are witnesses. Jin Dejuan's soul seemed to float. His eyes suddenly locked on the door and he said coldly, Wei Qingfeng. Elder Wei, who just came in, said in surprise, Jin Deco. Jin Deco. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. He said telepathically, isn't he called Jin Dejuan? Elder Wei said, originally Jin Deco. Later, he felt it was unpleasant and changed it to Jin Dejuan. Damn. There was such a thing. Speaking of which, the way Elder Jin looked at Elder Wei, they must be old acquaintances. The resentment in his eyes was similar to Lin Xingyue's. Could it be his ex-boyfriend? Oh my god. Both men and women. That's a bit awesome. Humph. Jin Dejuan said coldly, I didn't expect you to be in Iron Bone too. Elder Wei said, it's been so many years. Do you still hate what happened in the past? Jin Dejuan gritted his teeth and said, it's more than hate. I'll never forget it. The more it was like this, the more Jun Changxiao felt that these two old men must have had an ill-fated relationship in the past. Sigh. Elder Wei sighed and said, why are you so stubborn? Humph. Jin Dejuan sneered and said, back then, if I had listened to your nonsense and founded the sect with that person, I'm afraid I'd be dead now. That person? Who? Elder Wei's eyes were filled with pain. Let bygones be bygones. I just heard that a formation master has joined Iron Bone. It must be you. Now that the two of us are under the same roof, it can be considered fate. Jin Dejuan said, it's rumored that there's a Wu Huang in Iron Bone. That must be you. If I knew, I definitely wouldn't have joined. Sect Master Jun, he cupped his hands and said, this person has a grudge with me. This old man applies to withdraw from the sect. Just a moment ago, he had said that he would stay for the rest of his life, and now, he was about to leave. Indeed, older people tended to think differently. This, Sect Master Jun pondered for a moment and said, I respect Senior's decision. The two of them did not get along, and it would definitely be awkward to stay in the same sect. Since he wanted to leave, he naturally would not stay. The pearl jadeite white jade soup is here. Right at this moment, Lu Wancher's voice rang out. 1 hey, 2 hey, and the other disciples walked out with a few bowls of steaming hot soup. Pearl jade white jade soup. One of the dishes in the Chinese cookbook was rumored to have originated from Zhu Yuanzhang, the founder of the Ming dynasty. Lu Wancher had been thinking about it recently. Later, she succeeded in making it. Today, she made it specially for her fellow disciples to taste. It smells so good. Jin Dejuan, who was about to leave, smelled the fragrance in the air. His eyes were filled with excitement. When Tu Hei put down the bowl of soup, he picked up the spoon and tasted it. Thump. Thump. He took a few steps back, and the muscles on his face froze. After a while, he looked up at the sky with an exaggerated expression and exclaimed, this soup should only exist in the heavens. How many times can it be smelled in the human world? The meal just now was nothing more than a big pot of dishes. This pearl jade white jade soup was cooked by Lu Wancher. Whether it was the texture or the taste, it had already reached the peak of delicacies. As an expert in food, Jin Dejuan's soul had really flown out of the falling star continent and into the endless sea of stars. Sect Master, he said with a firm gaze, I, Jin Dejuan, am a person of Iron Bone. In this life, I will never leave nor abandon you. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. Retreating one moment and staying the next. Is this old man sick? Sick. A terminal illness with zero resistance to delicacies. After Jean de Juen tasted the pearl jade white jade soup, he really decided to stay in Ironbone. Such good food was enough for him to cast aside his past hatred. Elder Wei. Walking out of the cafeteria, Jun Changshao asked, "Who is that person?" Old Wei said, "Just like the sect leader, a person with a dream." "You guys established a sect?" "That's right." And then, Elder Wei paused and shook his head. The past is unbearable to recall. Jun Changshao was very tactful and did not continue to ask. After returning to the study, he pulled out the attribute panel. The number of disciples was 10,000. They had met the requirements to promote to a sect. Moreover, the number of disciples had reached the maximum. A new sect mission had also been activated. When all the disciples had completed it, the sect's construction would also be upgraded. It could be said that it was a double blessing. More importantly, the appearance of the sect mission meant that they could continuously obtain 10,000 contribution points. Let the disciples do the mission first. After upgrading the sect's construction, we will upgrade the sect. Jun Changshao muttered. Now, there was a problem that they had to make a decision about. According to Deacon Zhao, when the sect was upgraded to a sect, they could change their name. Of course. As long as the sect master was willing, they could change it as they wished. Sects were different. Because they had the right to use the name sect, this change was very solemn. Not to mention the readers, even Sect Master Jun wanted to complain about the name Ironbone Upright Sect. However, because they were busy developing, they did not think of changing the name. The sect was upgraded to a sect. If they continued to use the word sect, it would be a little degrading. If they changed it to Ironbone Upright Sect, it would be hard for them to get used to it. Changing sect to sect must be carefully considered. If things go wrong, the readers might abandon the book or turn against it, Jun Changshao said. The system said, "It's lucky that they don't call you Go Sheng." Jun Changshao thought about the name of the sect several times. In the end, he was still a little off and could not make up his mind. On the other side, the disciples started to accept their daily missions. Low star level new disciples accepted missions. High star level high cultivators accepted missions. The entire Ironbone sect was a little more lively than before. After Jean de Juen joined, he tasted the food made by Lu Wancher and was deeply immersed in it. He even took the initiative to say, "Sect Master, as the saying goes, the mouth of the person who eats the food is short. If there's anything you need, just tell me." Elder Zhen. Jun Changshao said, "I have some disciples here with talent in formations. You can go and nurture them." "No problem." Jean de Juen agreed readily. This made Yang Lan and the others very excited. After all, that was a 9th grade formation king. To be able to personally teach them formations was definitely a blessing of 3 lifetimes. Ding! Disciple has completed a sect mission. Obtained 50 contribution points and 50 achievement points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 492010000. Ding! Sect achievement points, 2250100000. Some disciples had already completed the sect mission. Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "Next, the contribution points will continue to increase. I have to spend some points in advance to make room." Chapter 551. The next day. After the disciples' routine morning exercise, Jun Changshao announced that Jean de Juen would be the hall master of the array formation hall. Yang Lan and the other 4 disciples with array formation talent would become the first batch of members of the array formation hall. Of course, there were still too few people. Sect Master. Elder Zhen suggested, "This old man thinks that we should conduct an array formation talent test. We might be able to find a lot of things from the foundation." The martial arts aptitude test was the most common, and there were very few unpopular vocational tests. Some people didn't even know that they might have a certain specialty until they died. Sure. Jun Changshao agreed. After lunch, the disciples were gathered again. Whether it was the inner or outer sect, they had all gone through Zhendijuan's strict test. Needless to say, there were more than 10 disciples with array formation talent. Although they were not the best, they were at least passable. Teaching 1 was teaching 10 was also teaching. Zhendijuan took them all into the array formation hall and guided them in array formation. Sect Master Jun also came to listen to the class. Although he had array formation talent, he didn't understand the array formation system of the falling star continent. Naturally, he hoped to unlock more knowledge. Zhendijuan was really short-sighted. He didn't hesitate to teach array formations at all. He started from the basics and explained in detail. After listening to his explanation, Lan seemed to have opened a brand new door to array formation. 2 hours later, Zhendijuan drank a mouthful of tea to moisten his throat and said, "If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask." Elder Zhen. Shengwan Xinyao stood up and said, "There's something this disciple doesn't understand." Jun Changshao widened his eyes and said, "Why is she here? Could it be that she also has array formation talent?" Martial arts and array formations were both very demanding on the brain. Shangwan Xinyao liked to ponder over many things, so it wasn't strange that she had array formation talent. Elder Zhen. Jun Changshao hurriedly slipped away and said to himself, "Take care. Speak." Zhendijuan said with admiration. He had just finished speaking and was in a hurry to ask. This girl should have her own ideas. She was teachable, she was teachable. Shangwan Xinyao said, "Elder Zhen just said that the use of the array formation, as expected. She had a lot of ideas." Zhendijuan patiently explained to her. "Elder Zhen, I have another question." "Speak." 2 hours later, Zhendijuan held onto the door and walked out of the array hall. His ears were filled with Shangwan Xinyao's endless questions. His head felt like it was about to explode. This disciple wasn't thinking too much, he was thinking too much. Jiangye and the Ning brothers, who happened to pass by, saw this scene and wanted to hug each other and cry. Even a 9th-grade array king with an extremely large brain was questioned by Shangwan Xinyao to such an extent. One could only imagine how he survived. Jun Changshao cultivated in the spirit-gathering array for a while, then went to the Tower of Experience. Finally, he returned to the study and opened the list of items he had purchased. First, he would buy 5 AK-47s. Then, he would purchase some aptitude liquids of different grades to use as rewards for the Great Intersect competition. He didn't dare to gamble again since he didn't manage to get a mid-tier store. Moreover, at the moment, other than the lack of a higher cultivation base, he didn't lack any substantial items. "It's better to focus on cultivation," Jun Changshao said. The 2 kings of sword and martial arts were not the end. His goal was to become the sword and martial emperors, or even the sword and martial emperors. Next, sect leader Jun put his mind on cultivation. The Iron Bone disciples were also desperately trying to become stronger. No one would let down their guard just because the sect had all kinds of resources. Bang! Bang! In the training room, Xiao Ziji, who had just broken through to 8th grade Wuzong, exposed his upper body and bombarded the testing machine with his fists. The strength displayed was always around 450,000. Bang! When the last punch was thrown, the strength of the punch was 470,000 jin. It could be considered as the strongest explosive force. Huff, huff. Xiao Ziji breathed rapidly. Beads of sweat slid down his knife-like face. Coupled with his strong muscles, his male hormones were exploding. There's still 1 year and 3 months left. He clenched his fist and said. Half of the 3-year agreement with Murong Xian had already passed. Xiao Ziji wouldn't forget. He still had to go to the Lily Holy Sect to take back the dignity that should have belonged to him. Junior sister. In the Misty Lily Holy Sect, a female disciple came to the waterfall and said, Ironbone's potential is rated as top 3. Morong Xian, who was cultivating, opened her eyes and said, "Really? How can an unknown sect have so much potential all of a sudden?" The female disciple was rather puzzled. Morong Xian said, "Ironbone is not simple to be able to win so many rounds against the Holy Spring Sect. By the way, junior sister, I heard that your former fiancé is also in Ironbone." "Yes," Morong Xian said. "This guy is quite lucky to be able to join a sect with the potential to be top 3. The disciple said. "Senior sister," Morong Xian said, "I still have to cultivate. Then I won't disturb you." The disciple smiled and said, "Senior sister, I'll take my leave first." After she left, Morong Xian whispered, "There's still 1 year and 3 months left. By then, there should be a complete break between you and me." He. In the dark valley, there was a creepy and strange laughter, and then a man with green hair walked out. Looking inside, there were dozens of high-level ferocious beast corpses, as if their flesh and blood had been sucked out, leaving only skin and bones. Moreover, there were also human corpses scattered around. Because it seemed to have been sucked out by some kind of ability, it was impossible to judge the level of cultivation. The murderer was the green-haired man with the strange laughter, who was also the brother green scarf that we had not seen for a long time. After Jun Changshao challenged the Holy Spring Sect, he recuperated in the sect and never went back with the excuse of going down the mountain to cultivate. During this period, he had a good understanding of his own devouring ability, from the beginning of absorbing plants to absorbing ferocious beasts and even martial arts. The improvement of his strength was also very significant. Now, not only had he broken through to Wuzong, but he had also entered the 8th grade. Jun Changshao, Dai Lu said hatefully, "I have lost to you and your disciple twice, and I will never lose again. And that guy with the surname Yi, sooner or later, I will torture you until you kneel on the ground and beg for forgiveness." He could still accept being tortured by Jun Changshao. After all, he was a rookie back then, and the other party was a sect leader. Being tortured by Yi Xingqian in the Holy Spring Sect was intolerable. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, a group of people flew over from the mountains and surrounded Dai Lv. Judging from their attire, they should be from the same force. "Elder," a disciple said angrily, "it's this kid who killed Senior Zhao and the others." The elder who had reached the peak of Wuzong said with a cold gaze, "Kid, you killed my De Ing sect's people. You must be tired of living." Whoosh whoosh, clusters of grassland green attributes spread out, like vines entwined together, quickly forming a big hand and pressing towards the other party. Not good. In the quiet mountains, there was a sudden scream, startling the birds and beasts. After a long time, Dai Lu, who was covered in grassland green, walked out. The dozens of disciples and the elder who had surrounded him earlier had all turned into dried corpses, and the spiritual energy in their cyclones and spirit cores had been sucked dry. It's already very difficult for a martial master to provide me with enough energy. It seems that I have to find more Wuzong cultivators. Jun Changshao, the speed at which you and your disciples improve is not worth mentioning at all in front of me. Bang! In the training room, Yi Xingqian punched the testing machine with a force of 600,000 jin. Damn! Feeling the strong aura, Su Xiaoma said in surprise, "Junior Yi, you have broken through to the peak of Wuzong?" Chapter 552. Yi Xingqian broke through to the peak of Wuzong. To be able to improve so quickly, the various resources and spirit gathering array were only secondary. The most important thing was the Taishen Sutra, because he had already comprehended to the 5th level. The mental cultivation method created by the old man of Taishen was indeed valiant. Every time he comprehended a level, his cultivation would increase, and even speed up. Of course, there was another heaven-defying aspect, which was that it could improve the spirit root. Yi Xingqian relied on the aptitude modification liquid to advance to the best grade first, so it did not show. If I can break through to the 7th level, my spirit root aptitude will enter the sacred grade. If I comprehend to the 9th level, my spirit root will return to the divine grade. Yi Xingqian's eyes were burning with passion. In less than 2 years, his cultivation had reached the peak of Wuzong, and his spirit root had reached the best grade. Such speed was something he did not dare to imagine when he had just been reborn. Among the disciples, Night Emperor was undoubtedly the strongest. But he was not the fastest. Because in terms of growth speed, He Wudi was faster. After all, he had transcended the divine grade aptitude, and was not something a mortal realm martial cultivator could compare to. Yi Xingqian would not care if someone improved faster than him. What he cared about was to become stronger in a limited time, and then take revenge. The hatred from his previous life. It was the motivation that supported his continuous cultivation. Sect Master. The next day, Yi Xingqian said, "Disciple wants to participate in the qualification battle of the Gathering of Heroes." Qualification battle? Jun Changshao was confused. The system explained, every youth of the right age can apply to participate in the qualification battle of the Gathering of Heroes, and the champion and runner-up will have the qualifications. What qualifications? Jun Changshao asked. The system said, the qualifications to challenge the geniuses on the Gathering of Heroes list. The Gathering of Heroes, the Heaven, Earth, and Mortal lists were not constant. Those who were stronger or had higher cultivation could be replaced at any time. The list would be reviewed once a year, and the ranking would be based on the collected information of the people on the list. The faster way to improve was to challenge from the bottom and slowly climb up. However, without the qualifications, even if he beat up the first place of the Heaven list, the officials would not recognize him. Yi Xingqian wanted to fulfill the regret of his previous life, so he had to obtain the qualifications to challenge the geniuses on the list. During the Dao discussion on Mount Hua, if he had the qualifications, he would replace Jiang Shenxi and become the 89th place on the list. Where is the qualification battle? Jun Changshao asked. Yi Xingqian said, any 6th grade county is eligible to enter the arena. You can sign up every month. Approved, Jun Changshao said. As the sect master, even if he couldn't enter the Gathering of Heroes role, he could still let his disciples participate and obtain a higher ranking. That way, he could still obtain glory for the Iron Bone sect. Sect master, said Wuzong Changshao said Yi Xingqian. The list of heroes was an authoritative list of geniuses. Every young man with a dream in his heart hoped to be on the list. Ding! Quest triggered the quest. A receive. Lord Changshao opened the system panel. The content was Disciple has obtained the qualification to challenge 5 people on the Gathering of Heroes list. Alright. Jun Changshao said, my Iron Bones inner disciples must all participate in the qualification battle and obtain the qualifications to challenge the geniuses on the Gathering of Heroes list. The next day, Li Qingyang and the other 20 inner disciples left the sect one after another after eating Lu Wancher's meal. Because there was only one qualification arena in a 6th grade county, after leaving the mountain, they split up into groups of 2. Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingqian went to Xianyang County. Li Qingyang and Tian Qi went to Huaiyang County, while Su Xiaoma and Li Fei went to Dingyang County. Long Xiang and Ling Yuanxue went to Longyang City. Not only the 6th grade and above counties had the qualifications to compete, but some of the stronger cities also had them. The time of the qualification battle every month was determined by the city, so it was not the same. Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingqian went to Xianyang County. It would start at the beginning of the month, so many martial cultivators had already signed up. Some people did not go for the qualifications, but treated it as a rare practical experience. Even if some people obtained the qualifications, they might not challenge the geniuses on the Gathering of Heroes list. It was like the driver's license on Earth, they would get it first and put it aside. Yi Xingqian was different. As long as he obtained the qualifications, he would definitely challenge the geniuses on the list to increase his ranking, from the man list to the Earth list, and then from the Earth list to the Heaven list. Whoosh! In the wilderness, a green grassland aura filled the air. A middle second-grade dire beast was engulfed and turned into skin and bones. The energy given is getting less and less. Dai Lu retracted the devouring power reluctantly and shook his head. I have to go to some dangerous places to look for high-ranked dire beasts. The energy given by the martial cultivators would be more, but he was trying his best to restrain himself and not act recklessly. After all, if he offended too many people, he would be in big trouble sooner or later. High-ranked dire beasts. Undoubtedly, they were the best targets for devouring. Brother Hao, do you have the confidence to get a place in the qualification battle this time? A voice came from the mountain path in the distance. Two young people were walking among them. The young man called Brother Hao grinned and said, getting first or second place is definitely not a problem. Wow! If Brother Hao can obtain the qualifications, you can challenge the geniuses on the Gathering of Heroes list. Becoming famous is just around the corner. The young man said with admiration. The Gathering of Heroes list. Dai Lu touched his chin and said, that seems to be the most authoritative genius list. With my age, I can participate. If I can get a place on the list, it will be an honor to my ancestors. It was decided. He would participate in the qualification battle. Only the 6th grade counties have the qualifications to participate. Dai Lu murmured, the closest county is Jinyang County. I can participate there. Jinyang County, Jinyang City. When Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingchen walked in, they immediately attracted the attention of many martial artists. Someone said in a low voice, these two are the disciples of Iron Bone. Iron Bone's reputation was great, and their school uniforms were very advanced and fashionable. Therefore, walking in southwest Yangzhou, they would definitely be recognized very quickly. I just found out from the city gate guards that these two are Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingchen, the inner disciples of Iron Bone. Strange, why did the city gate guards let them in? Did they forget that Iron Bone's sect leader caused trouble in the Spirit Origin sect? They are here to participate in the qualification battle. Even if the guards are unwilling, they will definitely let them in. This is the right of every martial cultivator. It can't be. I heard that these two inner disciples are very strong. If they come to participate in the qualification battle, wouldn't they have no chance? Everyone was discussing at once. Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingchen ignored them. They found an inn and booked 2 rooms, then went to the qualification arena. At this moment, at the registration point of the qualification arena, there were many youths around. Some had high and some had low cultivation. It's the disciples of Iron Bone. It's over, it's over. They are really going to participate in the qualification battle. The disciples of the Sacred Springs sect were all defeated by them. If we meet them, we definitely won't have any chance. Sigh, we can only wait for next month. Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingchen signed up according to the procedures and only waited for the battle to start in 3 days. However, when the two were about to leave, they saw a man in a black robe standing at the entrance of the street in front of them. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, revealing a smile. Who? Dai Lu. His pair of grassland green eyes stared at Yi Xingchen. I didn't expect this guy to also participate in the qualification battle. Very good, very good. I must let him experience a life worse than death. Schwa. At this moment, Yi Xingchen and Xiao Ziji brushed past him without even looking at him. Damn it! Did they think he was invisible? Stop! Dai Lu shouted. Xiao Ziji stopped and said, what's the matter? Dai Lu ignored him and pointed at Yi Xingchen, saying in a cold voice, Yi Xingchen, in the qualification battle in 3 days, you better pray that you don't meet me. Junior brother, do you know him? I don't know him. As the two of them spoke, they had already walked far away. Dai Lu stood alone on the street. A gust of wind blew, making him look rather desolate. Chapter 553. Dai Lu was annoyed that Yi Xingchen didn't recognize him. After all, He had been humiliated by him in public in the Holy Spring Sect. Sorry. Knight Emperor really didn't know him. It wasn't that he had a bad memory, but that he didn't take trash seriously. Just you wait. Dai Lu clenched his fists and said angrily, I will trample on your dignity with my strength in 3 days. Why was he so confident? Because, according to his judgment, Yi Xingqian and the other Iron Bone disciple were only at the peak of the martial master level. With his level of 8th grade Wuzong, he could definitely defeat them. In the Holy Spring Sect, I had just become a martial master and was not as strong as you. Now, I am far ahead of you. This is the gap between us. Dai Lu was very proud. In fact, Yi Xingqian and Xiao Ziji used the Taishan Sutra to hide their cultivation, and Xiao Ziji used the hidden cultivation technique to hide their cultivation. They always gave people the impression that they were only at the peak of the martial master level. When outside, they had to keep a low profile. Junior brother. Back at the inn, Xiao Ziji was still thinking about the black-robed man he had met on the street. He said, that man looked familiar. I think I've seen him somewhere before. Just trash. Yi Xingqian said lightly. Okay. Xiao Ziji didn't think about it anymore. He returned to his room to cultivate and wait for the qualification battle to begin. 3 days later, the qualification battle began. The periphery of the qualification arena was packed with people. Everyone was used to the qualification battle every month. Why were there so many people today? This was because many people wanted to take a look at the recently famous Iron Bone sect. They wanted to see how powerful their disciples were. They're here, they're here. Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingqian walked into the qualification arena and immediately became the center of attention. The participants who entered the arena first all had ugly expressions on their faces. They had prepared for a long time before they mustered up the courage to participate in the qualification battle. In the end, they met Iron Bone disciples. It was a tragedy. Junior brother. Xiao Ziji said, the cultivation of these people doesn't seem to be very high. The highest is only a peak martial master. Trash, Yi Xingqian said. The strength of the participants in the qualification battle was not high. The main reason was that it was held every month. The true geniuses might not be gathered in a certain month. About 50 to 60 contestants entered the venue one after another. Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingqian were undoubtedly the most eye-catching. When Dai Lu walked in, he was completely ignored by everyone. Humph, he stood in the corner and said gloomily, I didn't expect that a qualification battle would attract so many people. This is good too. I can beat up the Iron Bone disciples in front of so many people and take revenge for what happened back then. Contestants, please take your positions. The deacon in charge of the qualification battle said loudly. 64 martial cultivators entered the center of the martial arts practice field. After listening to the rules, each of them drew a number plate and began a one-on-one duel. According to the number of people and the algorithm, at least 6 matches would be needed to determine who the champion would be. The author could happily write another 6 chapters. But after the match began, Xiao Ziji and Yi Xingqian went out separately and cleanly defeated their opponents in a mere minute. Even Dai Lu used his absolute strength to blast his opponent out of the arena. The strongest martial cultivators in the qualification battle were only peak martial masters. With the strength of the 3 of them, it was impossible for them to not be able to kill their opponents in an instant. Soon, the first round ended. 32 people advanced to the next round. The second round began. Yi Xingqian and Xiao Ziji went out one after another. They defeated their opponents in the shortest time possible. They did not give their opponents any time to think. They also did not give me any chance. The third round, begin. Bang! Bang! The 2 of them continued to fight and defeated their opponents. So strong. Those contestants did not have the strength to fight back at all. If there are no surprises, the first 2 places will definitely belong to the Iron Bone disciples. The martial cultivators who were watching the show discussed. Dai Lu sneered. The two of you can show off for a while. When you meet me, it will be the beginning of your nightmare. Bang! He defeated his opponent in an instant with a punch. Hey, this black-robed man seems to be very strong too. Everyone noticed Dai Lv, and he enjoyed the feeling of being the center of attention. However, when he looked at Yixingchen, he realized that the guy did not look at him directly. He said angrily, "Despicable guy. When you meet me, I will torture you until you cry for your parents." The match continued. Perhaps it was fate. After a few rounds, Dai Lu did not meet Xiao Ziji or Yixingchen. It was not until he entered the top 8 and chose his waist token that he was confirmed. As long as he and I both defeat our opponents, we will meet. Dai Lu's eyes suddenly burned. Bang! Xiao Ziji went out first and defeated his opponent quickly. He successfully advanced to the top 4. After another round of fighting, Yixingchen went out and defeated his opponent. Bang! Dai Lv, who was the last to fight, sent his opponent flying. A sinister smile appeared on his face as he said, "Yixingchen, your next opponent is me." Yixingchen frowned. This black-robed man had been staring at him like a fly ever since he entered the venue. It was really annoying. The battle for the top 4. Xiao Ziji went out first and won the match as expected. He successfully advanced to the finals. Junior brother. He walked down the stage and said with a smile, "I've completed my task. It's up to you now." According to the rules of the qualification battle, as long as he advanced to the top 2, he would be qualified to challenge. Therefore, the championship did not mean much to him. Yixingchen went up the stage. Dai Lu, who came up early, shook his head and said with a grin, "If I were you, I would definitely not come up." Xiao Ziji's mouth twitched. Is this guy sick in the head? From their accidental encounter 3 days ago to the qualification battle, he had been provoking Yixingchen. Did he think that his junior brother was easy to bully? Yes. Dai Lu believed that he could easily trample on Yixingchen and all the disciples of Iron Bone. When his cultivation reached a higher level, he would ruthlessly trample on Jun Changshao. Match, begin, the referee shouted. Dai Lu's eyes were cold. Today, I will repay the humiliation I suffered at the Holy Spring Sect 100-fold, whoosh. Yixingchen appeared in front of him and said, "Trash should scram back to the garbage dump. Don't stand in front of me and spout nonsense." Boom! A strong gust of wind blew and waves of air spread out. However, Dai Lu easily caught Yixingchen's fist with his arm. He grinned and said, "Is this all you've got?" Whoosh, whoosh, his cultivation base erupted. Wuzong. This guy is Wuzong. Everyone was shocked. Dai Lu was enjoying this moment very much. Whoosh. Yixingchen raised his fist again and filled it with spiritual energy before he smashed it brutally. Boom! This group of attacks was very explosive. Dai Lu was directly blasted away by 3 to 5 steps. Surprise appeared on his face. You're also Wuzong. Yixingchen used his earth-shattering fist. His spiritual energy was maximized and he attacked again. Boom! Second stage Wuzong. Boom! Third stage Wuzong. Boom boom boom, peak Wuzong. Thump! 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 Dai Lu was forced to retreat again and again. His expression became more and more interesting as Yixingchen's strength increased. Impossible! Impossible! How long had it been? How could he enter peak Wuzong from 6th stage or 7th stage martial master? How could he improve faster than him?